Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final day of Medal League AEU. I am David Williams. Alongside me is Alex Newlake Delamer, and yeah, we're ready to look at our final few matches of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great day of games yesterday, and we're starting off today with ZXC versus VCK in our third place match. And it's one I'm absolutely looking forward to. These are two teams that have kind of played similar styles throughout the tournament. In fact, both of them have the same most played comp. They both play that Artificer, Clunker, Rampage, Peacemaker, Artificer, Triple Interceptor comp that we know so well at this point. So looking forward to seeing how they match up and see if either of them kind of come out with any new adaptations, change up their playstyle a little bit to try and take down third place in this tournament.
Yeah, certainly. I think looking at ZXC, the higher seeded team coming into this, they were second seed overall for our playoffs, and so they would have, I think, had aspirations for the final. Unfortunately, things maybe not working out in that regard as they came up against a very well prepared Neon Knights team yesterday in the semi-final. But you have to imagine that they'll be looking to show us why they were so highly seeded by bouncing back today in the third place match.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you say, highly prepared is probably a good way to describe the Neon Knights team that we saw yesterday. They're a very flexible team in general, and just kind of when they came up against the XC, doing a very good job of kind of outdrafting them and then playing around the comp that they ended up getting a little bit better. And to be honest, that was kind of the story in both of our semi-finals. For both MSA and Neon, the two teams that won, they just looked a little bit more comfortable in this draft style, a little bit better prepared for not playing their ideal comp. And both ZXC and VCK both looked just a little bit lost, just a little bit out of their element when they were forced into comps that they weren't necessarily as comfortable on. And when they were forced off that kind of Artificer Triple Interceptor comp that they're both so fond of. So it's going to be tough for both of them, I think, to adapt. And if either team actually does manage to lock up that Artificer Triple Interceptor comp, I think they're going to have a good chance to take down games here today.
Yeah, certainly. We're expecting a few pilots to be specifically contested over the course of this third place game. And I think coming into this first game, ZXC having that first pick will allow them quite a bit of flexibility in the draft. But we saw that teams with that second pick can control quite a bit if they're smart about their second ban, if they maybe don't go for one of those priority bans that we've been seeing. Because usually if it is just a case of the Artificer, Clunker, Rampage, two of those going off the table, then first pick kind of gets just to scoop whatever's left. And that already sets them off quite nicely in these drafts.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have a lot of options available as the second pick. We've seen every team so far, when they have the chance to go for that blue side pick, they get the first pick for themselves. But especially in this kind of meta where we're seeing the Artificer, and between these two teams especially, where we're seeing the Artificer, Rampage and Clunker also highly valued, you can kind of afford on the red side to leave two or three of those champions available. You don't necessarily have to ban away the Artificer, then you force blue side to ban Rampage or Clunker. And then you take away some of the champions that work well with that Artificer, So if they pick up the Artificer first on blue side, then you pick up the Rampage Clunker if they're both available, or you pick up the Rampage and the Photon, you kind of give a little bit less safety, or the Metal Herald as well as another support we've seen contested quite highly. And you force them to kind of stay away from the really powerful comps that they want with the Artificer and the normal interceptors of the Clunker, the Metal Herald, or the Clunker, the Rampage, and the Peacemaker that people like to play it with.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I think that it's been tough, I think, to get these support triple interceptor comps, especially because usually, the Photon's been doing a good job in the Artificer role, but even so, it's still pretty tricky for them to pull off the comp exactly. So we've been kind of like tricky to, it's just been tricky to kind of put together the comp. We're actually going to have a look at the brackets here just so you guys can have a bit of an overview as to what happened in yesterday's matches. And you can see kind of the route. VCK and ZXC at the start of the stream, very, very unfortunate for them in those semifinals.
Yeah, absolutely. They just came up against teams that have drafted better than them. I think, in both cases, MSA and Neon Knights are teams that have shown a lot of flexibility, not just in these playoffs, but throughout the entire tournament as a whole, and the qualifiers as well. Both of these teams played a huge amount of different champions and kind of also flexed their players around on different champions as well. And that's what I'm looking to see out of VCK and ZXC today, is show something that they didn't show us in the semi-finals. In both cases, they both looked uncomfortable when they were forced onto these comps with the kind of double support comps that are kind of the second meta comp that we see after the Artificer Triple Interceptor. Both of them looked a little bit uncomfortable compared to our top two teams when they played them. And so it's going to be interesting for us to see if either of these teams manage to actually if they've overnight kind of fixed any of the problems that they had, if they do manage to start playing around these double support comps a little bit better. I think the Neon Knights semifinal, the Neon Knights ZXC semifinal was kind of a classic example of how to play that comp. You know, you kind of want to just deathball it. You put your two supports, sit them on top of each other. You have something like the Photon and the Metal Herald, and they kind of back each other up, both of them sitting on top of each other. And it means that it's really, really hard for the interceptors on the other side, or any of the damage on the other side, to actually stick to either of those supports. And so it actually seeing if that comp can be played effectively by either of the teams, because I think it's really unlikely that they do manage to lock down the Artificer triple interceptor comp. Seeing them both actually seeing if they can play that double support style, I think is going to be the edge in terms of who manages to take down this third place match in the end.
Yeah, it has been a pretty prominent composition over the course of the tournament so far, especially with the way they've needed to draft around it. Also, we've seen Icebringer along with the support be pretty essential for teams in these draft phases.
Yeah, the Icebringer support combo is another one that we have seen prioritized quite highly. You know, just the Icebringer is that big tanky, the big tanky transporter, and then you just stick a healing support on top of it, and just, you know, hope that your Icebringer can ram through any of the opposition. It's not something either of these teams really favored in their games yesterday. It is a combo that we've also seen fail quite hard. What you really need in that comp is it puts a lot of pressure onto your interceptors to actually do a good job of hunting people down off the ball. And actually doing a lot of damage. Something we saw MSA do very well. His own Scratch are just absolutely, I think they've been the best interceptors we've seen in this tournament so far. And so seeing if a team can actually use their interceptors effectively in that comp is very important. Yeah. As we seem to have minor audio issues going on here, Whimsy appears to have vanished. But, you know, I mean, it as we look forward to these games, you know, it's the adaptability. I've said it a couple of times, but it's something that we really do need to stress, is that its adaptability is key. And if we look forward to our finals as well, I think that's where our two most adaptable teams are. And it's no surprise that they've been shining throughout the draft format so far. And that's the second big game that we're going to see today. It's best of 3 for our semifinals, but stick around. We have our best of 5 finals coming up after that. And it's not one that you're going to want to miss. You know, this Neon MSA matchup is a really interesting one. And it's one that they've both experienced a lot. Neon were the team that played against MSA the most during our qualifiers. They have 8 losses to them so far. And with how adaptable Neon have looked so far in this tournament, I think, you know, that if any team is going to have an answer to MSA in terms of just the draft and actually understanding how to play the comp that they are playing, it is probably going to be this Neon side. It's going to be tough to do, especially with, as I said before, how well Mizo and Scratch have been playing on those interceptors. But, you know, Neon could potentially have a chance, as I think we've managed to get Whimsy back with us, hopefully.
I hope so. Like I said, sorry about
there you go.
A little bit, yeah. Some of my equipment is not the best, not performing as maybe I would have hoped today. But hopefully I can stick with you guys and try to get it fixed as quickly as possible as we kind of get feedback from production. I believe we are close to our pick and battle phase. Actually, we are ready to go into it here. So, as stated, ZXC are with that first pick here. And obviously, like I said, these are two teams who, if you look at their most played composition in the open stage, was the exact same. It was the Artificer, Clunker, Rampage, and then combine it with the Peacemaker as well as that kind of fourth pick. So we're going to, I think the most important thing is to see where those 4 pilots land.
Yeah, and so it's going to be the Clunker banned away first from ZXC. I actually quite like this because it doesn't give VCK the chance then to just leave up the Artificer, the Clunker, and the Rampage, and then pick away 2 of those power picks. And so in response, VCK coming in with the Artificer ban, I think that's a good choice. And then Rampage, the third, you know, the third of that holy trinity for these teams, getting immediately picked away for ZXC. So now for VCK, you're kind of a little bit on the back foot. I would expect them to probably look for the kind of Photon Icebringer or Photon double support comp that we have seen a lot throughout this tournament so far. With the Wildfire pick, that's kind of the 4th interceptor that we've seen picked the most. And it doesn't really show their hand yet. They could still go for this double support comp. They could try and pick up the Metal Herald next round, or they could go for the Icebringer a little bit later. So we'll have to see which way VCK decide to go with this now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that ZXC would necessarily want the Metal Herald in isolation. We have seen it selected in some instances. Stargazer actually the pickup for that ZXC support. So that would likely indicate maybe a potential Icebringer coming in if they want to grab it. However, VCK making sure that they have the Metal Herald for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Stargazer, as you say, I think we're probably seeing an Icebringer come through. Little Monster is another option, but Icebringer has been kind of the preferred combo in this case, and so that will be the final lock in here for the side of ZXC. Over on the other side, Full Metal Judge actually going to be locked in. It's something we expected to see. We talked about a lot before the tournament. We kind of expected to see a lot more of it coming out in these playoffs, and it hasn't really been there at all. This Full Metal Judge, especially with the Metal Herald and the Photon, can just get so tanky and can be so hard to take down. The one thing that might be lacking a little bit on the VCK side with this comp is actually just a bit of damage. It's going to be quite hard for them to cut through that Icebringer, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Wildfire's shoulders, and to a degree, kind of the Full Metal Judge doing the damage as well, to actually bring down this Icebringer when Icebringer has the ball.
I mean, I don't know if I'd 100% agree with you there, because, I mean, they do have, I mean, with Full Metal Judge as your transporter and Metal Herald as one of your supports, even the Photon, I think that there's actually a fair amount of damage coming out of your composition overall. I think a lot will be on the Wildfire. We tend to see Wildfire bring up the brunt of the damage in a lot of these cases, but I think that especially with that Full Metal Judge into the Icebringer, they are certainly capable of cutting through the defense on the other side. And I actually do like the adaptation. I say the adaptation, but like we said, we expected a good bit of Full Metal Judge to come in over the course of these playoffs, and maybe ZXC ready to show us why we anticipated a lot of this pilot to be picked.
Yeah, and I mean, Full Metal Judge, you know, flexibility has kind of been my buzzword so far today in terms of which team is going to show the most flexibility. And Full Metal Judge, just in and of itself, is quite a flexible champion. With that, Dead or Alive has the offensive and defensive modes, and so kind of can play multiple different roles within the comp as the kind of tanky ball carrier, and also as, you know, kind of bringing the damage and kind of playing a secondary interceptor role when your team doesn't have the bomb. Again, neither of these teams really on comfort picks so far. You know, they have been teams that have relied on the Artificer and on the triple interceptor comps to get to the point they have in this tournament. And I think especially on the red side here, you know, for VCK, it's going to be a little bit tough for them, because this is pretty far outside the wheelhouse in terms of the kind of comps that they normally play. Over on the other side, having picked up the Rampage and having picked up the Icebringer and the Stargazer, you know, it's a little bit closer to kind of the amount of CC and damage that you would normally see out of the Artificer triple interceptor comps. So potentially going to be a little bit easier to play for ZXC, but you know, we'll have to see which team does actually manage to make the adaptation in game as well and suit their playstyle to what they're playing.
As we go through the bomb fight for the first game of this best of 3 third place match, VCK off to a nice start here, getting the bomb for themselves. Sharik on the Photon, able to grab it, and VCK instantly looking to drive that bomb forward and try and make some ground. Tanok looking to disrupt Sharik here. And Photon, as we say, not a true transporter, but can do a good job. Actually, they are going to hand it off, though, to Pawn 47K, who on the Full Metal Judge maybe will be a little bit more comfortable with the bomb in tow.
Yeah, definitely. They did a good job. The Photon survived for a long time there under a lot of pressure from Icebringer, and finally managed to get the handoff. But you can see the Killer J there forcing Fawn out onto the lab, and Fawn's in a lot of trouble right now.
Yeah, he's trying to maneuver his way around this, but just outnumbered here. They also take out Cousins as well, repossess the bomb, hand it off to Tanok, and sticking it on the Icebringer here is what this ZXC comp will want the most. Violins out, as I think VCK are going to have to wait for the respawns to try compete with this Icebringer push.
Yeah, and I think ZXC just looking at that little bit more comfortable so far on their comp. You know, it is pretty close to that triple interceptor style that they normally play. I think Icebringer, with the amount of CC they bring out, does come close to that pseudo interceptor. He's going to be taken down here, but you know, VCK not necessarily giving each other the support that you want to see out of these double support comps, where you just want to stack people on top of each other, have kind of 4 people sitting in a group together and stopping the damage that's coming out of the other side.
Yeah, VCK able to clean up the ace there by securing that last kill, and now they're just chasing ZXC away as Pawn advances forward with the bomb. We got to see a little bit of the Full Metal Judge damage coming out there as VCK retook possession of the bomb, grabbing a few kills for himself here. And now back to transporting. Once again, VCK in a similar position as before when they were dispossessed previously, but they seem to have just grouped a little bit better, and maybe they'll be able to push ZXC away from this piece of territory for now.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see the tendencies of this VCK side. They love going hunting for the ZXC members, and to the point where you even have Shark on this Photon looking for damage onto people rather than just sitting on top of Pon on this Metal Herald and giving him the support that really that Photon excels in providing. You can see he's off on the side hunting people even right now, and I'm not entirely convinced so far by the kind of style VCK are playing with this comp that they've picked up.
Here we see Wenquintal's in the middle with the Saturday shift, actually converting that into a second kill as well, and that will definitely slow VCK. They might actually want to push forward and try get another one onto this Full Metal Judge. Right now it's just him and Fanat surviving for the moment as they wait for the respawns here, and you can see immediately trying to play more defensive here. Pon looking for the dodges wherever he can, takes a chunk of damage, but the respawns do come through, and maybe VCK have an opportunity to keep this advance going.
Yeah, Pon's doing a good job of surviving on this Full Metal Judge. You know, he played well on the Interceptor a couple of times yesterday as well. But it's kind of the same story as what happened in their semi-finals. You know, even when Pon is on the ball as that transporter, he doesn't necessarily get the support from his teammates that you'd like to see him get. So it's kind of hard. He's being left in these situations to just survive kind of 1v2. And there's just not, you can see VCK don't really have the tools to actually clear out all of the interceptors and the Icebringer on the side of VCK, so they're going to struggle to get down this straight, and we're kind of in a little bit of a stalemate at the moment as VCK try to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, they are not willing to over-push this. Right now, Tannock is just sitting in the center, and getting past this Icebringer is pretty tricky. However, they're finally able to force him out of the way, and Pon can make it through the dropper stretch. And VCK may have a chance of actually converting this into a goal here, as they are past one of the most perilous sections of the track. Once again, Pod able to drive it past the Icebringer. There's no one really there. The kills have come through. Pod should be able to finish this one off. VCK with the first score in this third place playoff.
Yeah, just really well played by the kind of three members other than Pon and VCK there. In the 3v4, kind of just on that section of track, they actually managed to win out. A little bit of, you know, artillery support coming out from Pon on the Full Metal Judge, but it kind of was just a story. They managed to kill off 2 or 3 people by themselves, and then Pon got a free ride home. So well played by VCK, and a good first goal from them, kind of stamping their authority onto this game already.
Yeah, if you can just push your opponents out like that. It took them a while, but managing to secure it in the end, and VCK take the first goal of this match here. Once again, looking to see if they can start off with the bomb in possession here, trying to get it onto their FMJ. It ends up being Cousins who has to take the bomb for himself on the Metal Herald, and now just looking to kite back and try and avoid the oncoming members of ZXC. Does find a nice opportunity to pass it off to Pon. So back on the transporter, and now with a bit of open ground in front of him, Pon 47k looking to push forward once again, and VCK continuing their good run of form here at the start of this game one.
Yeah, and Cousins actually manages to take out Wenquintal's on the rampage off to the side, so they have a little bit of space here now and a chance to push forward. And you can see just the power of the Metal Herald Photon combo is going to come up big now in this 4v3 for a little while, and just keeping the members topped up, keeping them all healthy while still outputting the damage in these kind of scrappy fights. And with another kill now, this should be VCK looking to push forward over the next little while, trying to get those staggered kills so that there's never more than kind of 2 or 3 members of the opposing team to defend. And Pon just playing it so patiently at the back here, waiting for his team to clear out the opponent's team members.
Yes, similar patience that we saw Neon Knights use to take down ZXC yesterday in the semi-final. VCK maybe aiming to replicate that. However, Sharik going down, ZXC still with 4 members, and there's no opportunity for this Full Metal Judge to move forward here. You can see they're just backed off this completely for the moment. ZXC actually waiting though. They're not looking to press the numbers advantage for the moment. They're just camping out and not trying to make the play at the moment to dispossess Pon 47k while he waits back here. We now see Zlutic maybe trying to make a play onto this Full Metal Judge, but there's no opportunity to. However, they do force him over, and Zlutic snatching that one away. Maybe a little bit of a misplay there from VCK.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay, as you say, exactly, but they're immediately going to turn it back around anyway. A lot of damage coming out of the VCK squad, and now it's all on the Killer Jake to survive. That's not going to happen. Yeah,
well, that's a wildfire with 3 kills there. We've seen that before. The AoE damage coming out can be insane, and with Sharik finishing off the last one, that was 4 for VCK. They could drive this very far forward here. The respawns are coming in, but they should be able to get this at least close to the goal by the time that ZXC are ready to mount a defense. They do have another set of droppers to work with here. They're still waiting on the respawn for their Stargazers though, so maybe VCK could just chase them down and try take them out once again. Full Metal Judge with the bomb. waiting back here as we see the interceptors in VCK, the double supports I should say, trying to do the damage necessary, but Obeshin has respawned here, so maybe the heals can come through, and ZXC right now doing their best to keep themselves alive and just camp out on the goal line, prevent the VCK damage coming through.
Yeah, when Quintal nearly managing to actually take out the Photon there, or sorry, not the Photon, but nearly managing to take out the Wildfire there, wasn't quite able to do so, but now VCK will be looking to push this one forward. And I think the main difference that we're seeing with VCK in terms of how they're playing out this double support comp versus what we saw from Neon Knights yesterday was that Neon pushed the ball carrier forward with the rest of the team, so it was always 4v4, whereas VCK are making this quite difficult for themselves. They're going in 3v4, and while the strength of that double support and keeping the team topped up means that they don't just instantly lose those 3v4s, it does mean that it's much slower in terms of actually getting this bomb forward and winning those fights in the long run.
And Quintal sniping a nice kill there onto the Photon, but he's immediately taken down in response by Cousins here. We saw ZXC try press forward and make a big play there. They actually managed to clear out Obeshin though, so it's only the Icebringer and the Stargazer left to defend here, and I'm not sure what Lutic can really do. Tanok trying to slow Pawn 47k down, but he's not really able to find it there. And ZXC just slowly, methodically being taken out. Pawn looks for the shot eventually and does find it, sneaking it around the side, and VCK now 2 goals in front.
Yeah, ZXC maybe lulled into a little bit of a false sense of security there. It was a little bit strange. VCK struck as soon as the respawns actually started to come in. So ZXC maybe just took their foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of looking for the pressure, maybe feeling a little bit safe there. And all of a sudden, VCK was just 1 goal away from taking down game 1. The underdogs are looking to make a statement here in game number 1.
A good start for VCK. It hasn't been the cleanest, and at times maybe a little bit overly cautious, but it's working. And it has them 2 goals, and 1 more would give them a victory in this first game here. Once again, they're the ones first to the bomb here, and Sharik with it in possession hands it off to the full metal judge, as we have seen VCK like to have it on. ZXC trying to see if they can collapse onto him, but they're just having trouble getting any real damage to stick onto Pawn 47k here in this game. Every time he just seems to be able to regen it nicely with those shields.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing for Pawn is that he's just not really been under pressure at all, as you say, in this game. He's been able to just sit back, you know, just park the car and wait for his team to clear the way in front of him. And you have to give credit to the rest of the VCK members. Will get taken out by the passive of the Killer J. That could be pretty big for ZXC if they can actually get on the ball here.
Yeah, the Killer J using that passive as best as he could there to try to dispossess VCK. However, it just goes straight back to Sharik. A nice kill comes in from Wenquintaz though, and he is able to turn this one around. They have the bomb on the Icebringer here. We'll see how far Tanok can get now that ZXC have turned it over.
Yeah, when ZXC are on the ball here, the interceptors on their side really need to break up the play. You know, they need to kind of force the members of VCK apart, because if you take VCK into a fight where it's kind of 4v4 or 3v3 in one small area of the map, those double supports are always going to come out on top. So ZXC here doing a good job of splitting up the members of VCK so far, but as soon as they actually manage to stick to that Icebringer, or as soon as all 4 people are kind of together in one area, expect to see VCK start to come out on top.
Look at Tanok right now, a little bit isolated here, and actually takes a chunk of damage from that Metal Herald, doing his best to try keep himself up here, but eventually will be taken out. The focus is too heavy from VCK, and they turn it back over, looking to give it to their full metal judge once again. The heals coming through, and VCK once again back in possession of the bomb, as they have been for most of this match so far.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what we said. You know, VCK managed to get 3 members onto the bomb carrier. The fight came together, and as soon as it did, members of ZXC just started dropping all over the place. And so VCK back in control now, sticking together as a unit, and this is just such a hard group to actually take down. The double support's coming up huge, and the healing is absolutely insane out of this Photon.
Yeah, just not enough damage, really sticking to VCK in a lot of these instances. However, a nice dispossession as the push comes through, but Sharik once again just on point picks it up. They take him out, but Cousins is the next person to pick it up here, uses the Metal Herald ultimate to keep himself alive here, and now VCK once again advancing forward, and they are in the danger zone almost. If they can just get around this next corner, they could really have ZXC on the ropes. They need their Killer J to spawn as well, and we'll be hoping that they can make the defense 4 versus 4.
Yeah, this looks like it will be VCK probably pushing in for the game-winning goal here. They've kind of got 1 kill down already, and that means in the 4v3 they probably will be able to pick this one up. You could see how scrappy it got though. As soon as VCK got a little bit impatient and pushed forward a little bit recklessly, ZXC were able to get a couple of kills down, and it was only a kind of a good bit of play out of Cousins to manage to secure that ball and keep VCK safe and moving forward.
Yeah, we see they take out Cousins there, so VCK's push is going to be stopped even if they are able to remove the Killer J. However, a little bit of space. Spawn was thinking of stepping forward there, but there's still 2 people in his way. Once again, kills traded. Photon for the Rampage. Respawn, though, has come in, and actually Pawn maybe thinking he can make the play now. Obeshin looking to see if he can find the spot for the save, but will actually the dispossession come through? Another shot is attempted, but Obeshin able to grab it before he jumps into Tanok here. They're just trying to get the bomb onto someone who can take it away, and eventually the Icebringer is able to drive on out with the bomb. ZXC hanging on by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, VCK getting a little bit impatient there and pushing forward a little bit too aggressively, but they've managed to group back up now, and just the strength of this double support comp should be able to take this down. They're going to get a lot of kills, and with just the Photon and the Rampage left to defend, it's going to be tough defense for ZXE here. See if they can do it a second time.
Yeah, you can see Obeshin being hunted down here. A lot of damage coming in onto Enquintaz as well, and that's more than enough for VCK to get that final goal, and they will take the first game of this best of 3 for the 3rd place match.
Yeah, and I mean, well played by VCK. They have adapted since yesterday, and that's what we wanted to see from them. They played this double support comp out really well. They played it differently from how we saw Neon Knights played it yesterday. You know, yesterday the Neon Knights, they'd push forward as 4. Here was push forward as 3, leave your bomb carrier safe in the back line, and then if anything does go wrong in that fight, you can actually back off. I kind of liked it. It was a very, very safe style. If Pon saw things go wrong, he'd literally just run away for a little while, wait for the respawns to come in, and then they'd try again. And it kind of felt like ZXC didn't have a way around it, you know, and then once they actually did manage to get on the ball, once the Icebringer was managing to carry it forward, they weren't quite able to actually split up the 3-man group and the 4-man group of VCK enough to make serious headway and keep their Icebringer safe. So adaptations are going to need to come through from ZXC in the second game, maybe see if they can play the double support comp to that kind of effect, but tough. VCK played that really well, and our underdogs are looking strong so far.
Yeah, I actually, just based off of even that game, I'm really liking the adaptation to the double support comp that was made here. I think that having, I think, both the Metal Herald and the Full Metal Judge actually gives your composition a lot of damage, and I almost feel as if VCK could have pushed that even more, but it definitely showed whenever Tanok was given the bomb on the Icebringer, he just had a very difficult time surviving. And I mean, there's just so much damage on top of a lot of defense as well between those 2 supports and just the Full Metal Judge, that it's working really nicely, I think, and I'm actually very impressed with the foresight from VCK to find themselves the composition in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of, I think looking at the most damage stat here, like when Quintaz on that Rampage actually puts out the most damage, but the thing is, it was just constantly getting healed up or shielded by that double support out of the side of VCK. The Photon and the Metal Herald, we've seen a few times over these last couple of days, or yesterday, and it's just so powerful at healing it up. It doesn't matter if you're outputting the damage, because even if they're doing less damage to you, more of it will stick over these extended fights that the double support comps thrive in. And you need to be really coordinated to all of your interceptors be using your damage at the same time, so that you can actually burst members down on the double support side and not give them a chance to heal it back up. And unfortunately for the side of ZXC, not quite able to do it here in game 1, and unless they feel like they can really do that in game number 2, unless they feel like their coordination is going to be much better, they need to try and stop the side of VCK from getting the Metal Herald and the Photon again in game number 2.
Yeah, that seems to be just so crucial in a lot of these compositions. And actually, one thing I'm very curious about, even just after that first game, is Wildfire's win rate across the course of these playoffs, because a lot of games that I'm seeing that pick come through, first of all, it does a lot of damage, but that's kind of what you anticipate from the pick, but it's also just winning a lot. And like I said, it's not really a pilot that was on our radar coming into it, but just based on, like I said, this might be selective memory coming through, but I feel as if the pick has just done very, very well so far.
It has, and it's funny because, as you say, it's not something we've even talked about all that much while it's been winning or while it's been losing, and it's kind of because it tends to be just that 4th pick. It's not necessarily something the teams are building their comps around. It's just, hey, we've got this double support comp, or we've got the Artificer triple interceptor, and we just need an interceptor or we need something that can output a lot of damage to slot in here in slot number 4. And it has been that Wildfire a lot of the time. So I think the reason that we're seeing it do quite well a lot of the time is because it's teams that have already picked up the core of their comp and are feeling happy with their comp. If they're not feeling happy with the core of their comp, they tend to go with something a little bit more off the wall to try and give it a little bit of an edge. If you're looking for just a huge amount of damage, or you're looking for burst one-shot kills, maybe they pick up the Stingray, or they pick up the Killer J for a little bit more CC. Or you're picking up another support to try and get a little bit more healing. So the Wildfire, I think, is just doing a nice job of slotting in and rounding out these comps, and just giving them that kind of balanced approach to close out these games.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not one of the more controlling interceptors, but who needs control when you have a ton of damage? So yeah, looking at this second game coming in here, it will be VCK with that first pick. And I think you pointed it out earlier. They've shown, I think, in a number of games across the course of this weekend, that they're pretty okay running that double support comp when they are able to get it. Is it just a case for ZXC of breaking up Photon Metal Herald? Maybe you can get the Photon for yourself early if VCK with that first pick choose to forego it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I think a lot is going to rest on what VCK decide to ban actually here in this game. If they decide to ban one of the big three, kind of the Rampage, Artificer, and Clunker, then yeah, you probably have to ban another one of them away, only give over one of those power picks. On the other hand, if VCK actually decide to ban something else away, like, you say, we want to go for Artificer and Triple Interceptor, and so in response, we're going to ban away a Photon or something. Then you can try and pick up those double power picks over on the side of ZXC, give away just the Artificer or something. At the same time, maybe then you ban away the Photon on the other side, if they do ban away the Rampage or the Metal Herald, and try and take away from then going for this strong double support comp. So I think there's a lot of different directions that this play could actually end up going. And so the way this pick ban goes is going to be hugely important for obviously both these teams. I mean, VCK now looking to actually take down this best of three, kind of against what we expected coming in. But ZXC really do need to pull out something a little bit special in terms of how they navigate this pick ban.
Yeah, it seems as if when these teams kind of delay a bit and hunt down ZXC, they're struggling to find the answers. Well, not necessarily even hunt them down. We saw in yesterday's semi-final, it was just a case of a lot of control coming out from Neon Knights, and ZXC just couldn't seemingly find the answer. At this time, it's VCK maybe being a little bit more aggressive, playing ahead of their transporter, but I'm not sure if it's just a compositional thing that ZXC can't match up against it, or whether it's how they're approaching the game. But I do think that a change needs to come through. Do you think it's potentially even just moving away from the Icebringer? Because I think that's a pick that they've gone to a couple of times, and it hasn't really brought them success that maybe they would have anticipated.
I haven't been massively impressed by a lot of the Icebringers that we've seen so far this weekend, if I'm totally honest with you. I think it tends to be punished quite hard by a lot of teams because, as you say, it's not the most mobile of those transporters. It's something that teams are finding it quite difficult to actually protect, because even if your interceptors actually do manage to push away the opposing team for a little while, the Icebringer doesn't have the speed to actually make up all that much ground compared to some of the other transporters that we've seen. And I think really the only team that we find really good success with it has been MSA. Serchik on that Icebringer did really well for them in the semifinals, but that wasn't even really the Icebringer doing very well. For me, that was just, Mizo and Scratch doing so well on the interceptors that it almost didn't matter what that transporter was going to be in that comp at all. So, maybe move away from that Icebringer a little bit. Try and find something else that you can find something a little bit more mobile, or something that can defend itself if the interceptors get on top of it. And as you say, just adapt a little bit and find something that you can make work in this third place playoffs.
Yeah, you have to imagine the ZXC are going to the drawing board and figuring out what they can potentially put together. Maybe it's just another version of the support +3 interceptor comp that obviously relies a lot on the Artificer, but we have seen other ways around it. Like I said, if that's another one, if they can't get the Photon, they can opt for that instead. If they would rather not try fish for the double support comp on their side. So Photon actually, once again, I think we touched on this a little bit yesterday, but Photon has proved to be, I think, one of the key picks across the course of these playoffs. Obviously, one of the premier supports after maybe the Artificer, but even so has just proved to be a huge factor. And maybe, like, compared to the Metal Herald, Photon's kind of done it in a number of different roles within team compositions as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Photon, I think, actually does a little bit better than the Artificer in those double support comps a lot of the time. Obviously Artificer brings more to the table in terms of just crowd control and, pushing the enemy team around a little bit. But in terms of just when you have those little death ball comps and your plan is to just sit 3 or 4 members on top of each other and all support each other and heal while you're outputting huge amounts of damage at the same time, the Photon obviously does really, really well in that role with the better. kind of providing the healing on both sides. The Artificer obviously still the premier pick for those transporter or kind of support 3 interceptor comps, but Photon also still does fine in those comps. You know, as you said, you do have the tools on the Photon to survive and actually get around and also heal up your interceptors a little bit more than the Artificer, so you can still go for that style of comp. So yeah, Photon definitely kind of not surprised, but definitely a big power pick that wasn't it's higher in priority than we maybe would have expected coming into this weekend.
Yeah, I think it tends to be very important to catch where that lands up in a lot of these games. Photon has risen. And I think on the other side as well, I think we were expecting maybe a little bit more from some transporter picks coming into this weekend. I mean, we talked in that game about the Full Metal Judge and why we were like expecting a lot of it. But that was really, I think, the first time we saw it on stream, unless I'm forgetting a previous game. I could be, but even then, I think the most seen transporter that we've seen is the Icebringer. We mentioned there how it hasn't exactly been too fantastic. On the other side, we've seen very little Black Lotus, and we didn't expect a ton of Little Monster, but that's also been kind of pushed by the wayside as well. Maybe a couple in the first few games, but overall, I think the transporters just haven't been as crazy, as performing maybe as well, even just as a class as we would have expected.
Yeah. And I think you're right. The Full Metal Judge is something that we could probably expect to see a little bit more of in at least this series. And we might see a little bit more of it later as those two teams who have been very flexible choose to come out of it. So it's going to be VCK deciding not to ban one of those big three. We talked a little bit about this. So VXC, the pressure is on them now. Do they decide to leave all of the big three up and then try and snatch away 2 of them? But then you risk giving away, say, Artificer Photon, which could be a very potent combo in and of itself. So it's going to be big decisions here for ZXC, and you can see them taking a little bit of time to decide on this ban.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of high-value picks coming in. We didn't see a Vulture in that first game, but VCK may be wary of it, maybe anticipating that they'll be forced into a position where they're playing the Icebringer. So denying that Vulture, we do see once again the Artificer is removed in response. This does open the opportunity up for a Clunker first pick if they want it. However, VCK, they've been listening to the stream. They also value the Photon as well, and they will lock that with that first pick, making sure they have that key support taken for them.
Yeah, and I think we just see probably the Rampage Clunker is probably going to be the response for ZXC here. They actually decide to take away the Metal Herald, that big second piece of the double support comp. So this opens the way up now for VCK to start to look for this kind of triple interceptor comp. You know, they can pick up stuff like the Clunker, you know, you pick up the Wildfire. That's a little bit odd. I don't think they're allowed to pick up the Rampage as well.
Maybe having a little bit of an error here with their graphic, as I don't think both of them have Rampage, unless
you'd imagine not. Here. No. Yeah. So it was actually a Peacemaker pick for ZXC.
Peacemaker.
Interesting.
Right.
So Clunker falling a little bit down the pick order here. That's not something we would have expected to see at all here. If these are, of course, the right champions, we'll just make sure that they are before we fully commit to it. And the Wildfire is probably somewhere in this draft anyway. So we'll assume that VCK had that. And VCK, I think, are probably looking now for this triple transporter comp. They could end up going for the double support comp again, but with Metal Herald gone and Artificer off the table, you're missing some of the power pick for that.
They could also potentially just grab the Icebringer here. They have the Photon, which couples well with it. And I'm not sure there's the big damage on the other side. Or they just go back to Full Metal Judge. I think it performed very well in that last game, and they kind of want to run it back in that regard.
Yeah, and the Black Lotus is going to come out on the other side. So, you know, the Team Turtles obviously talking about how we hadn't really seen many of the transporters, and both of them determined to show that transporters can still make an impact on this playoffs. The Clunker falling down the pick order so much is not, I think, something that we expected to see. Interesting that the teams are valuing Wildfire over that. Maybe saying, look, we have enough control with just the Rampage by itself that we just want more damage, and we'll pick up the Wildfire on VCK. So little bit of an interesting decision here, and both teams now opting for very similar comps in terms of the setups.
Yeah, they kind of go with the classic, the 1-1-2, the one support, the one transporter, and the 2 interceptors here. I actually think that ZXC will be fairly happy with their comp, provided that they are comfortable on the pilots they've selected for themselves. Because I think it is actually a good balance of what they want. Good Black Lotus will always actually can be kind of self-sufficient in a lot of scenarios. And I mean, like I said, they got a very late Clunker in that draft. So I think they'll be relatively pleased with what they've got. But I think it does, once again, come down to execution in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you talked about the Black Lotus. It's not something we've seen prioritized so far in this playoffs compared to its massive presence in qualifiers as kind of, that most picked transporter after Artificer. But in this particular game, I actually quite like it as the last pick because there's not really champions over on the other side that can stick to this Black Lotus very, very effectively. I think maybe the Full Metal Judge is the closest you have to very consistent damage output that can actually stick to the Black Lotus and pressure it after that Karma and dashes are down. And the Rampage is actually quite easy for the Black Lotus to get around in terms of very telegraphed abilities. You save the Karma, you save the Astral Sprint. No, that's not it. Soul Pilgrim. Spirit Pilgrim, something like that.
There we go.
The weapon 3. You save the weapon 3, you dash away from those big telegraphed abilities from the Rampage, and you feel quite comfortable in that matchup as Black Lotus. And with Clunker there to protect it as well, ZXC do have a very good setup for the bomb carry. And with the Peacemaker as well, they're always going to be getting the bomb off of these kickoffs. So ZXC, with a good setup, should be looking to just push aggressively and push quite quickly with this comp.
Yeah, there's that quick start for ZXC in this second game here. Able to get it onto a Bastion. I mean, fighting for that first bomb against Peacemaker Black Lotus is going to be pretty tricky here, and we'll see what they can do with it as there once again a bit of a scrap emerging. Cozen's very low. The Metal Herald tried to finish him off, but actually it will be Wenkratos going down himself. So ZXC a man down, but actually Obeshin thinking of how far he can get forward here on his own. However, that Black Lotus is squishy without the extra protection and will fall. Few kills coming out for VCK now, and they re-establish control. Sharik just looking to see if he can offload that one, but a bit of a dodgy pass is picked up by Upon 47k. They have the bomb on the Full Metal Judge. We saw that was the secret to success for VCK in game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see one of the kind of pitfalls of the Black Lotus here, which is that you kind of need to keep moving. You're a little bit like a shark. If you stop moving, you're gonna die on the Black Lotus, and that can lead to you getting isolated from your team sometimes as well. You end up a little bit far away from them, and as soon as that happens, it can be very, very dangerous for the Black Lotus. So we need to see ZXC doing a little bit better off the ball in terms of actually keeping up with the Black Lotus and managing to protect it. As now VCK will look to push this one forward themselves, and Rampage is here providing a lot of protection, but a big whiff on the weapon 3 will mean that this could be a chance for ZXC to capitalize.
They only had 2 left alive, so it's pretty tough for them. Trying to dispossess Cozen's there, they do, but he's able to re-pick it up, and he's trying to hold on to the bomb until the respawns come in. Sharik as well, very, very low. ZXC trying to see if they can pressure out this Rampage and maybe find another kill for themselves. They eventually will, and they're slowly just kind of controlling this stretch of the map, but not able to dispossess VCK, but it's also making it tough for them to push forward for the moment. However, I think that VCK will be happy to hold on based on how that first game went. They're able to find 2 for themselves onto both of the interceptors, and that allows Cousins to cruise forward here on this Photon. Takes a chunk of damage, but ZXC trying to finish off the kill. Obeshin comes close with the Astral Protection, not able to find it here, and now this should be a goal. Finished off here. Cousins slides in, and VCK keeping themselves on top here with the first goal of game 2.
Yeah, VCK just cruising in formation there, had the Rampage in his back pocket, and it's interesting that they actually seem to be using the Photon as their ball carrier in this. They did have a couple of chances to try and offload to the Full Metal Judge, but happy to just leave the bomb on the Photon. So we'll see if that is actually the strategy that VCK are opting for, just leaving Full Metal Judge off the ball as kind of a third interceptor. And that would mean that they are actually basically playing this support 3 interceptor style that they have been so comfortable with so far in this tournament. So just watch for that with this VCK squad. And now ZXC this time, will they manage to stay closer to this Black Lotus and actually protect us?
Once again, ZXC, smooth start, gets the bomb onto that Black Lotus. They're able to hunt out Cousins as well, so a bit of a better start here for ZXC in the second round of play here. And now you can see Obeshin pretty clear to move forward here. QWQ kind of caught out on his own on the Clunker, but he's managing to survive nicely here as they move up towards the dropper stretch. VCK have regrouped and looking to see if they can get to this Black Lotus. Obeshin trying to sneak forward there, but takes a chunk of damage. Black Lotus looking for the opportunity to maybe self-repair. Actually trying to see if he can hunt out a kill onto Fanat, but they're struggling to take out the Wallfire in that scenario. They eventually managed to find it. Wenkratos giving his life over here. ZXC maybe struggling to finish off these kills as quickly as they would like, slowing them down, but for the moment, they're keeping this controlled on their Black Lotus, which we haven't really seen from them so far.
Yeah, and Obeshin just not quite able to keep control of that one. The Karmas were a little bit mistimed from him a couple of times during that play, so not quite able to actually block out as much damage as you'd potentially like. It looked for a second there as if VCK were going to actually use the Photon as that ball carrier again, but the ball is immediately handed back to Pon as Fanat says, "Nah, thanks, I don't want this anymore. You can try and run this map instead." And ZXC just, again, not quite managing to stay on top of the Black Lotus and kill as much as you would like. And we'll see now if they get another chance to try. Will they actually manage to this time around? Third time's the charm, ZXC. Let's go. Heal properly for that Black Lotus.
They've already taken the Rampage off, so good opportunity for them to once again press forward and gain some territory in the VCK half of the arena here. As VCK right now just kind of hanging back. Cozen's going low, but managing to keep himself alive. VCK, once again, just doing a very good job of just surviving, and it means that they always have at least a few machines on the map here, whereas QWQ, you can see him kind of going a little bit kamikaze there, trying for a play, but he's also able to survive here. VCK now camping in the middle of the stretch. Is ZXC not wanting to press forward past it here? Maybe looking for a pick here, and the red carpet is actually deployed, which may force VCK back and give ZXC the opportunity to push forward here, but even so, not willing to commit to it just yet, as Fanat was looking to cause some problems on the side. Peacemaker Ultimate has timed out here, and VCK still just holding them back for the moment. ZXC not able to really find a pick to open up this space.
Yeah, with Wildfire down, this could be the chance for ZXC to push forward, but they're happily just sitting here. And what I think is interesting is ZXC are kind of focusing on this Rampage quite a lot, but I don't think that's the main threat to the ball carrier here of Obsession on this Black Lotus. You know, I think that Full Metal Judge actually has a much better chance of killing the Black Lotus. As I say, that Rampage does do a lot of damage, and that's going to be a turnover to VCK.
Yeah, they managed to turn that one back. They do lose their Full Metal Judge, but even so, VCK still now have repossessed things. However, nice Clunker Ultimate will turn that one around. Bomb Fight breaks down. However, ZXC, without really the numbers there, not able to turn that into anything more here. Tanak now trying to escape as the Peacemaker here. Does manage to get back to safety, but ZXC, very little opportunity to pressure the bomb here, and VCK should be able to move this back to at least the middle of the arena.
Yeah, Rampage so good in those messy bomb fights, as you know, everyone's trying to pile into this one small area, and Rampage just with the big AoE damage. And of course, it's all in slow motion. You can see it coming, but it doesn't matter because it's just so much damage and so much area denial that whenever you get into a bomb fight with a Rampage, you're feeling pretty good about your chances coming out on top.
Yeah, so VCK now maybe looking to actually make some ground in the blue half of the arena here. Pon doing a good job of keeping himself alive on that Full Metal Judge in that defensive mode, and the heals, the shields coming through make it tricky to really punch through him, and you've seen as ZXC trying to make a play onto him and getting punished for it, losing Obeshin there, now down a man.
Yeah, and Pon making good progress here, and with a lot of low members on ZXC, this could be a chance for VCK to try and look for a second goal. Those respawns are going to start coming in soon, but with Peacemaker down for another 8 seconds, if they can get another kill here, it's going to be 3v4 on the defense.
VCK are hunting here. They clear out QWQ and Wenquintaz. It is just the Black Lotus to make the save here. Nice save, but he just forced back into the goal by Sharik. That is 2-0 now to VCK, and they are one game away from taking this series, or one goal away from taking this series.
Yeah, Shark smells blood in the water there. As the ball gets close to the line, the Rampage just comes in and forces it all the way over. Just well played by VCK and just pushing their advantage really hard. You know, we said that Peacemaker was down, and as soon as the Peacemaker was down, VCK pushed forward, and the desperate defense from ZXC members when you're on low health is never going to end well. It's so hard to actually win those fights when you're already at the man disadvantage. ZXC, it's kind of do or die time for them now in this game, as that Black Lotus has not really been able to get work done, and it's looking like it's already getting a little bit dangerous. That Karma hit nothing, and ZXC is vulnerable for a little while.
Yeah, QWQ was instantly dropped there, and ZXC now, you can see this Black Lotus just fleeing for their life, trying to survive here as the four-man squad of VCK hunts them down. Tanak and Wenquintaz doing their best to try to disrupt things. They have the Clunker back here, but even so, every time I see QWQ, he's getting chunked out by someone on the side of VCK. However, Obeshin did manage to find some space, looking to press forward here. Once again, a little bit isolated, but we'll see if the dodges come out here. Sharik is applying so much pressure on this Rampage here. ZXC have managed to create a little bit of space, but pushing it back onto the lava, they should be able to finish off the kill here onto Obeshin, but doing a good job of surviving for quite some time, but not able to live in the end there, and Pon 47k repossessing the bomb.
Yeah, and you can see the difference there between how effective the Rampage is versus someone with a bit more kind of sustained damage like the Full Metal Judge. You know, the Rampage just wasn't able to land many of those hits onto the Black Lotus, but Full Metal Judge is able to just consistently output that damage, and there's only so much you can dodge before it will eventually go down. Fight's getting a little bit messy here, but it does look like VCK has the health advantage, and they're likely to come out on top.
Yeah, they are looking to drive forward here. We can see that Pawn is just chasing down Tannock on the side. So it's a 3 versus 3. If they can get the kill onto Cousins here, they may have an opportunity to just sneak the bomb away from them. But Cousins just finds a good opportunity to slip past, looking to move forward here with the space, being focused down here. But a great job of surviving on this Photon. They are just not able to take him down. And good support coming out of the rest of BCK as well. They actually dropped the Metal Herald and the Black Lotus. So that's 2 key kills coming in. However, QWQ is able to dispossess them here and just throws the bomb forward. More of a case of slowing them down there rather than looking to take the bomb away, as it's back in the hands of that Full Metal Judge.
Yeah, the respawns will come in for ZXE though, so they do have a chance to defend this one, but we've seen how deadly VCK are once they do manage to get to this part of the map. Oh, good clunker that play though.
Yeah, great magnet coming through there from QWQ. They're able to get the bomb back onto this Black Lotus here, and Oveshin just, once again, playing safe here. Sharik is low, still looking to make the play. They are able to drop Fanat, though, and finally ZXE can clear the lines a bit as Oveshin is able to drive forward onto an open track here. BCK now, once again, looking to pressure this Black Lotus once more, 1 versus 2, but the dodges are coming out fairly cleanly, and you can see when Quintaz and QWQ able to create some space for him here. Good job of ZXE getting the ball to safety quickly.
Yeah, ZXE finally able to take a sigh of relief here. So Beshin decides, you know what, if you're not going to peel for me, I'll do it myself. Takes out the Wildfire, but there's a lot of damage already coming back, and with the Full Metal Judge and the Photon on his tail, it's going to be so hard to ever manage to get that self-repair done, and he will get taken down instead. It's just so hard to get away from the consistent damage of this Photon and Full Metal Judge when you're playing that Black Lotus. And the ZXE, their transport or their interceptors haven't quite been able to give Black Lotus enough space yet in this game to make some real ground into the opposing half.
QWQ able to actually sneak away with the bomb there a while ago and doing a good job of keeping a hold of it. Actually had the self-repair coming in before handing it off to Obeshin. Back onto the Black Lotus here, and ZXE maybe want to make some ground, but just the chunks of damage coming through. That's the risk of playing the Black Lotus. It can be quite squishy if you're not negating the damage coming through, and he is going to be dropped by Fanat. BCK repossessing the bomb here. They have their Photon respawning in just a little bit as well, and maybe they're looking to press forward once again.
Yeah, you know, I've been saying that Obeshin hasn't necessarily been getting the support that you want from your team on this Black Lotus, but at the same time he's also not been using that Karma particularly well. We've seen a few big key abilities land and then the Karma pop up a second later to try and get damage. There it is again, Sharik getting damage down on top of this Black Lotus and the Karma coming in a second too late. So, you know, Obeshin, if he does want to kind of survive and be that little bit healthier and give himself a chance, he does need to start using this Karma a little bit better.
He has the opportunity once again as a couple of kills came in for ZXE, and they are able to push the bomb back into the red half of the arena here. But the respawns are in for VCK here, and Sharif's just making life so tough for the ZXE transporter. Nice shields will help him out, and he's able to dodge out of the Saturday shift. And doing a good job of making some ground here. VCK are kind of having to chase him down a little bit, and have struggled to make damage stick compared to some previous engages with this Black Lotus. Maybe Obeshin a little bit more wary, but just finding him against the barrier here, able to push him off of that. Fanat picking up that bomb. They'll likely look to get it back to the Full Metal Judge if possible on the dropper. Smooth transition from VCK as they stop that one, although he's dropped very, very low, and Tannock finishing that one off. A little bit of a snipe there coming out of the Peacemaker, but it doesn't stop VCK from repossessing the bomb.
Yeah, if ZXE can actually manage to turn this one back over in this part of the map, it will be good for them. But Fanat does manage to find the self-repair. He's looking pretty healthy, and it will be ZCK now looking to make another push back into that. And ZXE just haven't ever really gotten past those hairpin turns and all the way past Magma yet in this game. They will manage to find the ball again after a little bit of a loose play by VCK. Will turn it back over, and now one more time Obeshin. This needs to be a deep push in, or I'm feeling pretty bad about how well ZXE are actually going to do at scoring in this game.
Yeah, you can see them already trying to see if they can start off with a pick onto Pawn 47k, but he's able to get to safety, get the self-repair in, and ZXE just waiting for all 4 members here before they make the push, trying to see if they can pull Sharik away, but the Rampage just does so much damage when you try to compete against them. They are able to snipe a pick off onto Cousins though. So VCK down a man in terms of stopping this. Metal Herald ultimate is used as well, and Obeshin able to find some space. He's a little bit isolated as VCK look for the pick, but they are able to take out the Rampage, which will really help them make them through these droppers.
Yeah, there's some space here for ZXC, and for the first time they're making it to this last set of hairpin turns. If they can actually get up to the goal here, it's going to be the first scoring chance they've had so far in this series, and this is a real chance for them. The Rampage is just about to respawn. The Rampage is back, so it will be a 4-man defense for VCK.
VCK with all 4 defending there. Cousins was able to get to safety to get the self-repair on, and we can see Fanat actually looking for the play here. Nice snipe by Tanok though, and he's able to take out the wildfire. One member of VCK is cleared out, and Obeshin looking to sneak through with the Karma, looking for the shot. It's going to be saved though, but it's pulled back in by QWQ. Great play from the Clunker, and finally ZXC are on the board.
Yeah, we finally got some signs of life out of ZXC in this game. Fanat, something we saw a little bit from them yesterday as well was, they sometimes were just getting, the communication wasn't quite there. They were getting a little bit isolated, and Fanat found himself locked up by the Peacemaker away from his team when they really should have all been just kind of sitting together, trying to make sure that the side of ZXC couldn't get towards the line. So the first real mistake coming out of VCK that we've seen so far in these games will cost them the first goal, and ZXC are definitely still in this one now.
Signs of life for ZXC 1, 2, 3 in this series. Once again, they're able to get the start with the bomb here, and the early trades kind of going even as both supports are taken down here. Sharik once again looking to make Obeshin's life a living hell, but QWQ seemingly having a bit of a better handle on this Rampage for now, and the damage coming out of Tanok's Peacemaker here. Obeshin very low here upon, looking to see if he can kill him with the triple tap. Good dodges coming out from Obeshin though, looking for the self-repair. It's stopped once again, and Cousins on this Photon is able to apply that DOT quite nicely. QWQ keeping control of the bomb, and ZXC struggling to make it out of here for the moment. VCK keeping the heat turned up.
Yeah, Obeshin at the start of that play did a much better job of actually using that Black Lotus Karma to keep himself safe, actually blocking some big damage abilities, but in the end the Full Metal Judge just had enough consistent damage to take him out. But ZXC have managed to hold back onto the ball, and now in a 4v2 they will have another chance to push forward in this match, and they're looking a lot more comfortable now. The coordination is there, they're getting the kills down, and Obeshin is settling in on this Black Lotus.
Big picks onto both interceptors for ZXC, and now once again they can make it through these droppers without any hassle whatsoever. Cousins trying to see if he can get to Obeshin to disrupt him even a little bit, but the Karma is timed very nicely. VCK now with 4 members alive here, but ZXC seem a lot more comfortable just forcing them out of the way. Fanat now trying to see if he can pressure out this Black Lotus, but Obeshin with the dodges here, and the Wildfire maybe not looking as strong as we touted earlier in the stream, not able to make these plays as cleanly here. They're able to clear out the Rampage once again, and Obeshin feeling the play, looking to pull the trigger here. They're able to clear him out. Pod has no chance to defend, and he just swings that into the goal. ZXC have found their mojo and have equalized this game.
Yeah, out of nowhere, ZXC scored 2 quick goals. And I said it, Obeshin is finally starting to look like he's a little bit more comfortable on this Black Lotus. He's using the ability, he's timing his abilities effectively. And the rest of ZXC as well, just doing such a good job in the 3v4, is now starting to push around the interceptors and supports of VCK and stop them from getting anywhere near this Black Lotus once they find that back straight. And 2-2 now, it's all play for. VCK still looking to tie this series up, but ZXC looking to make it very hard for them all of a sudden.
They're finally dealing with this Rampage. They're finally finding ways to more consistently pick off Cousins, and ZXC just have right when they needed it found the answer here in this second game, but they still need to score 1 more goal here. Once again, Peacemaker, Black Lotus, they're the ones who start off with the bomb here, and Obeshin trying to keep himself safe as VCK are hunting. They're able to take out the Metal Herald, so good pick for them to start this one off, and you can see Sharik hunting for this Black Lotus here. They're collapsing onto Obeshin, looking for the damage if they can find him here. The dodges come through, self-repair for him as he finds it in time, and he should be able to sustain a little bit longer, but VCK are struggling to, or ZXC I should say, are struggling to keep people alive for a lot of this, as VCK finding picks left, right, and center here. But for the moment, ZXC doing a good job of keeping the bomb on their transport.
Yeah, and it looks like with a couple of kills now, they are going to start finally making a bit of progress. And, with 3 people sitting on Obeshin there, if this had been kind of 5-6 minutes ago, I would have said 100% he was going to die. But this time, managed to dodge around long enough to actually keep himself alive, get that self-repair going. And now, sitting at the start of this trade, if they can get past here, they've looked threatening so far. And the Rampage is a little bit isolated. If they can take down Sharik, it's going to be a huge win. That's a big clunker ultimate.
Huge singularity coming out there to open up the gap for Obeshin here. Doesn't result in a ton of damage coming through though, but it does mean that ZXC can push a little bit further forward. However, they have also lost their Peacemaker, so neither Interceptor available here, and ZXC will have very little room to push forward right now. They're just going to hope to see if they can keep this Black Lotus alive as the respawns come in. QWQ is alive here, trying to keep Cousins out of the play. They take him out. VCK Shark with a big push, but it just falls right to Tannock here. All 4 members of ZXC alive. They're able to hand it back to this Black Lotus here. VCK looking desperate for the defense here. They're still waiting for 2 people to respawn. We'll see if they can just push them off the line before this goal. Obeshin looking for the shot, but fires it a bit too early. Gives it over to Cousins here. The Photon going to try and make it away. QWQ able to pull him away, but they just hand it off to Pon47K. And VCK handed a lifeline on their goal line.
Yeah, as you say, it was handed to them. Obeshin, I don't know what happened with that shot. He maybe just pulled the trigger a little bit too early. He was very weak and gave VCK the chance. And now they've managed to get 2 kills back onto ZXC. It looks like it'll be Obeshin going down as well on this Black Lotus. And all of a sudden, VCK have a chance where really that should have been the game-winning goal for ZXC with how they've been playing in that last straight threat this entire game. They have a chance to actually pull it back. And VCK might finally have some pressure of their own again. They've been entirely on the back foot for the last couple of minutes.
If VCK run it down and score here, ZXC will be absolutely kicking themselves and letting that chance go. They are able to take out the Full Metal Judge and get the bomb back for themselves onto the Black Lotus as well. And VCK not really in a position to stop him for the moment, so he should be able to drive this very far forward while the respawns come through. Fanat just trying to keep himself alive for now. Sharik, I don't think you want to be making the defense on your own as the Rampage, especially with this clunker constantly breathing down your neck. They have a few more respawns coming through here, but VCK once again back scrambling on the defense.
Yeah, and ZXC, you know, with what just happened on that goal line, taking it slow, waiting for the respawns to come in for VCK. That's a really nice hook, but the damage comes straight back from Fanat. That's a really good turnaround, and there's a chance now for VCK to do some damage.
Yeah, Clunker, don't pull the Wildfire W into yourself. That's definitely how you go down here. They are able to trade back onto Cousins, though, in response. So ZXC making sure that it's not completely for naught, but VCK a little bit more stern in the defense here. They have Fanat back. Obeshin looking to make the play and able to avoid getting hit on the droppers, but he actually does lose it in the end. Full Metal Judge with the bomb back, and VCK just looking to get out of dodge as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, QWQ, there was a little bit of a mistake there that kind of turned that entire play around. He's been having a great last kind of like 5-6 minutes of this game. He's been looking very strong, but pulling the Wildfire on top of him was a mistake that has cost a bit of the pressure for ZXC. They're turning it back around now, and in the 3v2, they should be able to force their way past the Rampage.
This is just an all-out brawl at this stage as these teams trading kills back and forth here. QWQ once again trying to go in, goes down. Sharik as well, they're able to find Tannock, and there's very little support here for this Black Lotus. But even so, VCK not really able to get onto him as the Metal Herald does actually spawn in the nick of time to maybe help Obeshin out here. They aren't punished too much for losing both of their interceptors previously, as VCK seeming tentative to really try pressure Obeshin at this moment in time.
Yeah, with both of those goals down in the last couple of minutes, that's big QWQ.
Ooh. Yeah, big play here. The Rampage trying to trade back with the ultimate of his own, but not able to fight it. And Obeshin is actually with a lot of space to work with here. Pon is just trying to keep himself alive as the Full Metal Judge, and he is taken down. There is nothing stopping this Black Lotus this time, and Obeshin will find the game-winning goal and tie this series up at 1 match apiece.
Well, finally we get a team, we get a series where both teams win a game. QWQ came up absolutely huge for his team in the last few minutes of that game, and Obeshin as well. I was not impressed with any of the Black Lotuses that we saw so far in these playoffs, but Obeshin finally starts to do Black Lotus things, finally starts to actually, you know, block big abilities with that karma, use the dashes, stay safe, and let your team do the work for you. And ZXC finally looking like they might have an answer to what the aggression that VCK were bringing out in the start of this game and in the first game.
I mean, if you think about ZXC in that game, they were 2 goals down and VCK were on the offensive early on at the start of that third round, and they managed to pull it back. And even then, those few crucial mistakes kind of, you know, bring the doubts back into your mind maybe a little bit. That they've kind of thrown the chance away, but so just reasserting themselves and at the end of the game finding those few picks needed, finding the ground necessary. VCK just losing their heads a little bit on the last stretch of defense, and ZXC showing good mental fortitude to turn that one around, and just good in-game adaptation. Like that Black Lotus, as we said, I don't think we can stress enough, looked a lot better towards the end of that second game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, actually managing to survive against 3 people in those kind of scrappy middle of the map plays and the rest of it. And I think as well, ZXC, they really went back to basics with this game. You know, we haven't seen many teams actually just pull out the 1-1-2 comps, you know, your support, your transporter, 2 interceptors, what you're going to be playing in all your casual games and ranked games at home. And ZXC did, and they looked pretty comfortable. You know, it took them a little while to get into the swing of things. They went those 2 goals down, but once they did, I mean, that's 3 unanswered goals for ZXC in this game now. And if they can carry that momentum into game number 3, they're looking pretty strong to actually take down this series.
Yeah, and I mean, VCK, they'll be, I think, a little disappointed with how that went. Taken off of the double support, the Photon and Metal Herald were split up, and they were not able to make it work in that game there. So they'll be going back to the drawing board a little bit. Just looking at the stats here, and we can see ZXC coming out on top. A nice bit of a better spread, I think, across the board. And you can see QWQ on that clunker towards the end of the game had a huge impact in shutting down the interceptors on the side of VCK.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I mean, as you say, just a bit of a better spread in terms of the stats. I mean, it's still a lot of ZXC here reflecting, you know, they were kind of definitely stronger towards the back half of that game, but still a huge amount of healing. I mean, you can just see the value that Photon gets in these scrappy games. 30,000 healing coming out in those fights. And it's definitely, you know, a power pick in this series and kind of a power pick overall. The clunker, as we said in that game, you know, QWQ showing why it can be so strong and why it was kind of surprising to us that it's fallen down the pick priority a little bit in this series. Because I think without the clunker there, even if you had the Rampage or even if you had kind of, you know, just a Wildfire or the Peacemaker, I don't think that you have as much of an impact. I think it would have been much, much harder for ZXC to actually close out that game.
Yeah, certainly. So looking at this draft for Game 3, ZXC, okay, we've seen 2 games where the second picking team has come out on top. And I'm curious as to maybe why that's the case. Obviously, there's just in-game play that could justify it potentially. But do you think that there's anything that they're benefiting from in the draft, potentially playing around those 2 key support picks that we're seeing?
I do a little bit. I think, you know, one thing the teams weren't necessarily valuing very highly coming into this playoffs is just how many power picks there are, because there's kind of 3 or 4 big power picks. You know, we've seen the Artificer, obviously, number 1 for a lot of these teams. They'll pick it up basically whenever they get the chance, and we've seen it correspondingly banned quite a lot. At the same time, you've Rampage and Clunker and Vulture as well as kind of that 3rd interceptor, but teams don't play it as much as necessarily they would, but we've still seen it banned away quite a lot. So it's Rampage and Clunker, kind of those 2 big interceptors. And then the Photon has been hugely impactful so far in this playoffs. And what that means is when you have these 3 or 4 big power picks and they can't all be banned away and the first team only gets to pick 1 of them, it means that a lot of the time the team that's second actually gets to pick 2 of these power picks away. And it means that you have 2 strong picks with which to kind of build your comp around straight away. And the first team, the blue side team that are picking here, aren't necessarily getting to build as strong a comp with as strong a kind of 2 pilot core as the team on the red side is, especially in this series when the kind of double support combo has been so impactful.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at that draft in the second game there, if we think back to it, the first pick Photon coming out from VCK, we kind of had pegged as an important pick to have for yourself, but that left a lot open for ZXC to kind of take. They did go with the Peacemaker and the Metal Herald, I believe. So they got the support from themselves to deny the composition, but also I think they had a lot of options in terms of interceptors that they would want to take on their side. So I think having those first 2 picks those 2 early picks in the draft is maybe showing a little bit of extra power here, as well as also, I mean, you are forced to, I think, like use that ban on something like the Artificer in a lot of cases. It can be kind of tricky, but as we're seeing more and more picks kind of step into the spotlight and specific combinations as well that need to be split up, like the Photon and the Metal Herald. I mean, that second pick is potentially something to keep an eye on. Obviously, it will be, let's say, it will be ZXC back on that first pick. So who knows? Maybe VCK will actually be a little bit looking at an opportunity to turn the draft around in their favor for this final game.
Definitely. I do want to highlight a little bit. I actually think it was a bit of a drafting mistake that came out from VCK in that game as well. They actually, you know, they opted for the Wildfire in their second round of picks over something like the Clunker, and that actually let ZXC pick up the Clunker quite late in the draft. And I think with just how impactful that Clunker has the potential to be, letting that slip all the way through in favor of something like the Wildfire. We were talking about before that game, like, yeah, the Wildfire's been doing really well. Yeah, it's had like quite a high win rate, and it's been on the winning team, but it's been there as that kind of fourth pick, as the kind of pick that you use to round out your comp when you've already got the big kind of CC pieces or a strong game plan of like the double supports already in place. It's not something that I really like seeing when you're looking at your kind of like picking up a strong team comp. And I think the Clunker would have been a much better pick and potentially allowed VCK to win out on that last game. But we'll have to see. I mean, will the Clunker slip through again this time, or are VCK going to decide that it was too strong in that last game?
Yep, as we are into our draft for Game 3, our first Game 3 on stream of the weekend. I believe actually in the whole bracket overall over the weekend. Yeah. So again, we've had two teams who are evenly matched. That is a Photon ban coming out first of all. So ZXC don't even play around that pick at all. They're just denying it here. Do you expect the Artificer to be taken out in response just to deny that other major support pick?
Yeah, I definitely do, and it will be the one to come through here. I think it's fair. You know, it allows now both of these teams potentially to pick up one of those. You can pick up a big intercept. You might first pick a Vulture here. It's not something we've seen. It's Stargazer, so just valuing. I mean, it is kind of that third support. I would like. I mean, or the fourth support. You know, Metal Herald was kind of being the more important one, and Rampage Clunker could be the pickup for VCK, or they might try and pick up the Metal Herald as well to deny the potential double support comp over on the side. It's Wildfire. I do not like the priority on Wildfire from VCK Esports at all in this series.
I think if you're going to go for the Wildfire, I want you to go triple interceptor, but you don't really have the support to run a triple interceptor comp. So I kind of said you're kind of shoehorning yourself a little bit here. The Clunker is picked in response. Once again, ZXC able to find that at a nice stage in the draft, and also just going straight back to the Peacemaker. So they're keeping the interceptor combination that they ran in the previous game here. Metal Herald is the response for VCK, so they're making sure that they have a support lock for themselves at least. So we'll see if either of these teams want to run a true transporter in this game.
Yeah, I'd imagine we're going to see the Black Lotus come back out. Yeah, the Black Lotus, as you say, it was the true transporter for ZXC, was always going to be the last pick, and Full Metal Judge will come out. So both teams now just going back to that standard comp, the 1-1-2, you know, play what you play all the time at home, the transporter, the two interceptors and the support. Again, like I just really don't like this Wildfire pick so early from VCK. They had the chance to lock up that Rampage Clunker combo. You would have potentially given over the Metal Herald, but Metal Herald Stargazer hasn't had that same impact as a two support comp as, you know, the Artificer Metal Herald or the Photon Metal Herald. So I don't think you're that scared of it. And it was always going to leave up enough transporters if they wanted to go back to the Black Lotus or pick up the Full Metal Judge for ZXC, that they were going to get to do kind of whatever they wanted over there. So it's going to be tough. This is ZXC essentially running back their comp from last game, and it could prove to be just as powerful again.
Yeah, I think Scratch said it in the chat there. It is control versus damage here, looking at these two competitions. ZXC with a lot of controlling elements on their side, and I think just a very defensive comp that they can play. The Peacemaker and the Clunker should be able to create a lot of space. On the other side, I mean, that's a lot of damage. Rampage, Wildfire, Metal Herald, Full Metal Judge. I'm trying to think of a comp you could ask that would spit out more damage than that, and I'm struggling to come up with one instantly there. So I'm curious to see how it goes. My one issue that I would maybe have with what VCK is that their comp feels kind of one-dimensional. Obviously, it's just like, you know, do damage and like sustain a little bit with your FMJ, but I think that if you're not really finding these picks, if ZXC can kind of just avoid giving you those, I think if you see some good Black Lotus play coming out of Obeshin, who I assume is going to be given that pick once again, they'll just be able to deny, I think, just the one key strategy of the VCK comp and kind of work around it. But we'll see if they can execute on that, because, like you said, just find those picks, and as we saw VCK make that work quite nicely in that first game.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you know, that is literally it. It's a one-dimensional comp coming out of the side of VCK. And the problem is that, like, trying to land all that damage onto something like the Black Lotus when there's a Clunker in the way can be really, really difficult. And the Stargazer is there. It's not necessarily the best kind of transporter support combo, because, like, really Stargazer's only power is to just jump on you from anywhere on the map and heal. There's not really kind of any form of CC or any damage going to come out of the Stargazer. And there's not actually all that much health to heal up on the Black Lotus. If the Black Lotus gets caught, the Black Lotus probably dies no matter what, especially against this much damage. But it's going to be tough for VCK to actually find that Black Lotus with the Peacemaker, with the Clunker in the way, especially when they're always going to get the bomb first on these kickoffs.
All right, deciding match here in this best of 3 third place match. ZXC running as much of the same comp as they could have gotten the previous game, whereas VCK, similar situations, just the support system changed before both sides here. But early start here for ZXC on this Black Lotus, and Obeshin making some good ground here with very little defense coming out of VCK. A lot of damage now sticking, but the Stargazer heals coming through, and Obeshin has been very quickly been able to push this bomb very far forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally it, you know, like the Black Lotus does quite well into teams that just want to try and land damage, because unless you land those abilities, the Black Lotus is just going to keep going, and if you don't have the control to slow the Black Lotus down, Black Lotus is so quick at just traversing the map and getting one into other, and Obeshin already threatening the goal here.
Yeah, it's looking for the shot, not able to quite find it though, and Pawn quickly snaps up that bomb, looking to maybe gain a little bit of ground away from the VCK goal.
Yeah, and we'll see now if VCK can make a little bit. This is definitely where the VCK comp might have a little bit of an edge, as if their interceptors can just take out the defenders with all that damage. But it will not be the case. Instead, the ball straight back in Obeshin. Didn't make much ground there at all for VCK, and Obeshin will have a chance again to score.
Yeah, QWQ with the nice dispossess on that clunker here, and now Obeshin once again with the bomb here. VCK trying to see if they can snipe out the clunker, which would obviously help, because he could be quite annoying to deal with when you're trying to defend the goal here. Also seeing if they can pick off the Black Lotus, but Obeshin actually just dealing with Cousins right in his face, making sure that this Metal Herald is off the table for the immediate future here. A lot of damage, but he's able to keep himself alive, and the interceptors for VCK are being peeled back here. Sharik has to watch his health bar here. The self-repair not going to do much for him in that instance, as just 3 members of ZXC collapsing on him. Tannock finishes off the kill. Red Carpet is deployed. Obeshin once again will have another opportunity. The Clunker ultimate being used, and he is able to find the pull into the goal, and ZXC starting this third game off on the right foot.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just see there's so many more options for this ZXC comp. The Peacemaker provides plenty of damage by itself as well, able to take out the interceptors and some of the other members on VCK. And then once they get up to the goal line, the singularity out of the Clunker is just so powerful in terms of, you know, you can try and save it, but even if you catch the ball, you're just going to get dragged back into your own goal anyway. So ZXC looking very strong, and it's hard to see an answer to the comp that they've managed to drop themselves in VCK's comp, unless the interceptor play starts really stepping up big time from the side of VCK.
Once again, I mean, the Peacemaker Black Lotus start means that ZXC always have control at the beginning of the game. That's just a matter of fact here. But they've been doing a much better job as this series has gone on of keeping control at the start of the game and making sure they can actually make early moves into the VCK half. Obeshin, though, has to be careful, just dodging out of a few things, retreating to a safe distance and waiting for the self-repair here as his team gets the picks. Fanat has been taken down. That's one less interceptor to deal with here in ZXC as for now, grouping up a little bit more and maybe trying to make a bit more of a push forward here.
Yeah, they've managed to take out 2 members of VCK already, so Obeshin will just kind of cruise his way through this hairpin section. VCK, the next place they need to try and make stand is probably these droppers, but without enough members alive, they're just not going to be able to do it. So it's going to be a stand on the home straight again. That respawn by the Rampage is very far back. Maybe could have respawned further forward and looked to try and block the way. Will make it there in time anyway, but ZXC now, they looked threatening last time in this home straight. You'd imagine the Clunker ult is going to be up again soon, and this could be another chance for ZXC to force this one into the goal.
Yeah, it will be a 4v4 fight here, and you can see Fanat trying to play up front, see if he can snipe a pick onto the back here, but the Wildfire just so squishy when isolated and focused, and Fanat has to retreat. Shark as well, very, very low, and maybe ZXC see an opportunity. The heal's coming through, so VCK do have a bit of resistance coming through, but they're playing so defensively about the picks that this Wildfire can make. However, they have lost their Stargazer. Red Carpet is used, and Tannock whipping that one quite a bit. VCK just happily saying thank you very much, get the bomb back, and now trying to get it away from their goal.
Yeah, and VCK finally the interceptor play looking a little bit more coordinated. You know, the Peacemaker Red Carpet was a pretty big whiff on the side of ZXT there as well. But VCK, you know, managing to coordinate, get all of their damage abilities down together, and it meant that there wasn't enough space for Obeshin to actually dodge on the Black Lotus. But ZXT have immediately managed to turn this one back over in the middle of the pitch, and while there are 4 members of VCK here, it's going to be really hard for them to lock down Obeshin.
It never seems like VCK can get far in this game without the dispossession from QWQ's Clunker. Obeshin back with the bomb here, and once again ZXC back to their old ways, looking for the pick. They were able to get it onto the Rampage, he'll be off the map for a while, and VCK once again just looking for the full retreat, but QWQ, he's still looking for the aggressive play here with Tannock to back him up. Only a couple of members on this line to the defense here. They have the Clunker ultimate, and it is as easy as you like. ZXC now 1 goal away from taking this series.
Especially with how this clunker played out for QWQ in the last game. I mean, it's almost beyond belief to me that VCK allowed it to go over again to ZXC. It's just so strong for them. It just looks so good. QWQ using that ultimate to set up both of the 2 goals so far in this game. As you say, as soon as VCK managed to get their hands on the ball, QWQ is there to force the dispossession and just hand it straight back to Abeshin. And now ZXC looking to clean up game number 3 in style. Tannock just decides not to pick up the ball.
Yeah, that was a bit of a whiff start there from ZXC. Pawn 47k able to grab the bomb to start this one off. And they were also able to pick off that clunker. So finally, VCK able to find a bit of a better start for themselves here. And actually 2 nice picks as well. ZXC struggling to put up a defense here, and VCK off to a much better start in this 3rd round.
Yeah, the 4-man squad just roaming up the map here, and it's going to be a little bit tough for ZXC on their line, you know? They don't really have as many defensive tools beyond that clunker, and it's a little bit less effective when you're already on your home straight, if they can just get enough damage down here. But it's a lot of pressure from QWQ onto the pawn. This is chance now.
The shot comes through and actually manages to swing it around all of them. VCK just coming out of the gate strong there. A little bit lackadaisical from ZXC, but VCK punishing as well as they needed to.
Yeah, nice shot coming through there from Pon, kind of sneaking it around 2 members who both pushed forward aggressively at the same time, and Pon, recognizing the space was there behind, managed to make the final shot. And you can see QWQ that time around wasn't quite able to find Pon at the back, and that's the problem with pushing forward aggressively as this clunker as well on that home straight, is as soon as you're behind and you don't have the W left available, there's another way to start, but the clunker will pick it up.
Yeah, these starts are now getting really scrappy from ZXC, but it ends up being the clunker who's able to take it away. QWQ nabbing the bomb for himself and will be likely looking to try path this over to the Black Lotus. They do manage to transfer successfully here, and Oveshin now actually with quite a bit of space to move this bomb forward here, and it took them a while, but ZXC finally getting the start that they would have expected with this comp.
Yeah, absolutely. Oveshin, though, immediately going to be found out without his karma and just immediately sniped out, but they've handed the ball straight back to QWQ. Didn't even need to use the magnet that time to pull someone away. It was just passed straight to him. And now he's just going to go all the way back, find a bit of space, wait for the respawns to come through, and find a safe handoff to Black Lotus. You can see just going to respawn, and it's immediately there, and Oveshin will get to try again.
Yeah, ZXC now looking for the reset, and they get it fairly cleanly here. They do actually get the pick onto the Metal Herald as well, so once again, good opportunity for them to create some territory gain. They're able to take out Sharik as well, so just consistently grinding out these picks here, and Oveshin will use the extra space to drive forward here. This Black Lotus once again goes low, but the karma available makes it tough for them to finish off the kills onto him at any given moment in time. Koza's looking for the aggressive play, and he's just punished for it once again. They're struggling to maybe make these picks land, however, trying to grab the bomb for themselves, and Pon sneaking that one away, avoiding the red carpet too. He's a little bit isolated, but VCK now defending a little bit better against the XC.
Very cheeky by Pon there, managing to find the kill onto Tannock while he had the bomb and was trying to hide over the wall, but it will be Pon managing to pick it up again there after being bullied by Clunker for a second, and QWQ just being an absolute nuisance over here will finally get taken down by Sharik. And so now VCK do have a chance with 4 men strong to finally get this cleared, you know, try and actually make some decent ground into the opposing half. It's not been really a lot of pressure coming out of them so far in the last couple of minutes, but they have a chance here.
Yeah, that was a long scrap, but VCK just able to grind it out and get the bomb back towards the ZXC half, although Pon, I think realizing he's isolated, doesn't want to mess with that too much, finally has a bit of protection from his interceptors, and now looking to advance forward into this orange half. This Full Metal Judge now. We see the dodges coming out of Pon fairly cleanly, and a good job of making it past the front line of ZXC. They're collapsing onto him, but they're struggling to land it there. We see, although dispossessed, once again, this clunker just constantly able to force these dispossessions over the barrier, and Oveshin back with the bomb.
Yeah, it's very much a case of, Pond needs to get lucky every time, but QWQ just needs to get lucky once with that magnet. As soon as it lands, he can just drag him straight out of play, and it's so hard if the interceptors aren't there to peel QWQ on this clunker off for Pond to make any real ground, because he has to constantly be dodging everything coming out of this clunker, and it's much easier for Beshin on the other side. We talked about at the start of this game, there just isn't that hard CC on the side of ZXC to slow, or on the side of VCK to slow this Black Lotus down. And as soon as he starts moving forward, he just gets to keep on rolling.
This is a lot of space for Obeshin here, as actually the interceptors from BCK once again try to retreat to make the defense, but they're able to focus out Shark and get a lot of damage onto him. He is not in position to stop this here. The respawn's a little bit far back. Red carpet is used and they get the goal. That is it. ZXC will take the match victory and finish third place in Metal League 8 EU.
Yeah, really well played by ZXC at the end there. It was a tough strategy to execute for VCK, going for that full damage comp. You're just looking to basically win those 1v1s, win those fights the entire time against the side of ZXC, and not quite able to pull it out. It was really well played and a really nice finish there at the end to give ZXC the win.
And I mean, props to QWQ. The clunker in the last game, especially, I think, had such an impact. VCK never really able to hold onto that bomb for long, with him constantly finding these pulls with the magnet and the singularity. Big props to him. Also being a huge factor in terms of just finishing off these goals in a lot of instances.
Yeah, just scored basically the first two goals there with the singularity, just waited in front of the goal line. As soon as Black Lotus arrived, pops the singularity and just drives over. And I mean, there's really nothing you can do against that kind of strategy except stop the ball from getting that close to your goal in the first place. And again, I think it was just a little bit of a missed priority on VCK, not adapting well in the draft and kind of realizing how important that clunker had been in game 2 and actually allowing ZXC to turn it around. But at the same time, massive props to VCK. They were kind of the big underdogs coming into this game. Both teams played very similar styles, as we talked about, up until this point. And VCK did manage to take down game 1 fairly cleanly. It was just ZXC managing to adapt better in game 2, find their footing, and QWQ on that clunker, I think, probably man of the series for me. Just absolutely huge in turning that game around and then allowing the game 3 win for ZXC.
Yeah, I think you could see both him and Obeshin grow into that series there. Also, once again, actually, Tannock leading the stats there. I think his Peacemaker was a little bit understated, but actually quite nicely finding those snipes with the missiles throughout the match, and it working out really well for him. You can see just ZXC, I think, growing as the series went on, almost as a team. And while we give prop to the clunker, I think the whole team stepped it up as it went from game to game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you say, Tannock topping the damage charts again on that Peacemaker. And that's kind of the problem, is that there was the very one-dimensional comp coming out of VCK. They were just looking for damage, but having the Peacemaker clunker provides both of those elements. There's so much damage out of the Peacemaker and still, a little bit of CC and a little bit of control coming out. And then the clunker provides all the rest, provides a little bit of damage and a lot of CC. So they had they had multiple prongs of attack and they had a much easier time defending whenever VCK actually got on the ball. And so, ZXC, well-deserved series by them at the end of the day, and they played it very well to close it out.
So ZXC have secured third place in Metal League 8 EU, but we still have one more match to determine who comes out as the grand champion overall. We'll be going to a short break as we get ready for our final match. So stick around, guys, to catch a final of Metal League 8 EU between MS Assembly and Neon Knights. Welcome back to the finals of Medal League 8 EU. This is the big one. This is the big one. Best of 5 coming up between MS Assembly and Neon Knights. And I am very, very excited for this one.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one since we got these teams confirmed yesterday. It's been absolutely a great playoff so far for both of these teams. And they're both, teams that have looked really dominant in a lot of their games so far, and really have adapted well to this draft format. So, I think seeing both the playstyles clash in-game and seeing how these teams try to outthink each other in draft should be really exciting here in this best of 5. And with a best of 5, we have plenty of time for those draft adaptations to come through.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to look at is obviously the reigning champions, the number 1 seed, the favorites for the tournament, MS Assembly here. I mean, we saw both of their series yesterday, and it was about the level of dominance that we would have expected. This is a team who seems well equipped to deal with anything that's really coming their way. And I think most of all, which will probably serve them very well in the final, is that they've been doing so well on probably the most powerful picks in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's stuff like that Vulture, which we have seen a little bit of priority on, but I think it's definitely really high priority against this MSA team because I think a lot of the dominance that they've shown so far in these playoffs has come off the back of Mizo and Scratch. Those two players, when they get onto these power picks like the Rampage, on like the Clunker, like the Vulture, they just look so dominant. Those two by themselves, like just 2v4, will control entire enemy teams. We saw at one point yesterday, between them, they managed to corral an entire enemy team into their own goal while their transporter just got to drive around the map doing absolutely nothing, So just those two by themselves, if they can get on picks like the Vulture and the Rampage and the Clunker, it almost doesn't matter to me what the rest of MS Assembly's comp is, because you feel like at that point they have a good chance of just winning the game off the back of those two.
Yeah, and then having a look at their opponents, Neon Knights, the 3rd seed, really impressive yesterday, I think. I'm not going to say it's an overperformance because it was just so clinical in their semi-final against ZXC 1-2-3. Just the control coming out of this team has been fantastic throughout the tournament, and really, I think, as well, pioneering that double support composition. It's not their only trick, but it's something that, I mean, we've seen all the teams have to kind of lean on it a little bit in this draft, and they seem to be at the forefront of the teams taking that composition.
Yeah, they just looked so comfortable on it yesterday, and they played so well around those big utility ultimates as well. Stuff like waiting for the Peacemaker ult to be back up and then pushing forward with 4 members on that Peacemaker ult, which means if the enemy team tries to come and fight them, there's absolutely nothing they can do. They love that kind of death ball, sit there at 4 and just push their way around the map, just slowly but surely and methodically forcing the other team out of their way. It's going to be They're really, really good at it. And so I think, Neon Knights, as you say, very happy to kind of shift around and try and pick up that double support comp style in this in this series.
And I'm very curious to see, I think in the first few games more so, because obviously as the best of 5 series goes on, it will develop its own little meta. But I think in the first few games, how those two major supports that we see, the Photon and the Metal Herald, where they end up landing up, because I mean we pointed out in the previous series, Photon is actually one of the key picks of the tournament, and where it's been ending up in a lot of these games here. And MSA, like we said, they can kind of go with anything. They're so skilled on such a wide variety of pilots that if they want to just snatch that comp away from Neon Knights, they could do so. And I think them battling over that to try maybe secure what has proven to be quite a powerful composition. I'm interested to see how that works out in the first couple of games.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been funny, I was talking up the Scratch and Mizo and how good they've been on the interceptors and stuff. But I mean, during qualifiers, MSA absolutely has played like three or four supports in a comp as well. I mean, they're absolutely capable of playing all of these champions. If they want to snatch up the Photon, if they want to snatch up the Metal Herald and try and deny it from the side of Neon Knights, that's absolutely something that these players are capable of doing, and doing at a high level. Because I think that's key as well when you're picking to deny as much as picking for yourselves. We saw yesterday in Neon Knights semi-final, their opponents tried to pick the Metal Herald and the double support comp away and just couldn't outperform Neon Knights on it, because Neon Knights then just looked more comfortable on the Artificer triple interceptor comp that they managed to pick up in that game as well. So it's about being able to play every comp flexibly. And these are two teams that have shown just over the course of this playoffs that is absolutely something that they are able to do.
And I think as well, looking at some of these key pilot picks that maybe a little bit more isolated to some of these teams. I think Vulture is one for MSA that I think as well, just the picks kind of reflecting their styles a bit. Vulture is one of the MSA. It's one that just hunts people down relentlessly, a big interceptor that just drives things home. And I mean, we saw Mizo with some fantastic play on it yesterday, just absolutely relentless. And then on the other side, looking at Neon Knights, I think one of the big interceptors that they were running with was actually the Peacemaker, who at a lot of stages would just sit at the front of the composition and just use all the big knockback to control the space and allow them to press forward. So I think it's actually cool how how those two interceptors maybe show a little bit of a difference in the way that these two teams play the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's absolutely it. You know, this MSA squad is kind of much more about just individual ability and just straight up outplaying their opponents in kind of 1v1 and 2v2 situations and just bullying them around the map. Whereas this Neon Knights comp, they do play much better. This team play much better as a kind of unit. You know, they look very practiced together. You know, they've been around for a long time, and you know that kind of comes through in how good their coordination and how good their teamwork is. That said, they could run into a little bit of trouble just up against this raw individual ability of the MSA squad, especially given what we saw from them yesterday. You know, they really love at all of those kickoffs to play a kind of like team deathmatch for a little bit. You know, they love to try and kick the other team around, you know, wait for space and wait until they picked off one or two players before they start to move their bomb carrier forward. And when you're up against MSA on their comfort picks of stuff like the Rampage and stuff like the Vulture, that's going to be really hard to do because, I mean, they're just so good at that team deathmatch style. And I can see MSA absolutely opting all in for that because that sounds like something they'll really enjoy.
Yeah, we'll actually have to see if Neon Knights are willing to commit to that, if it is the case. And it could also even just depend on the composition. Like if they don't necessarily have the picks to secure that bomb at the start of each round, then maybe they'll just be left having to try catch MSA who try to sprint off quickly. Depends on what we see. I'm also curious as to maybe some other of the later picks. Once again, we saw the reemergence of the Transporters in that third place game. And while... like I said, we didn't see a lot from either of these teams on Saturdays. They kind of stuck with maybe double support comps being the focus or the Artificer triple interceptor when they could get the chance. And I'm curious to see whether we see things, once again, like that Full Metal Judge and the Black Lotus that we saw in the last series, reappear here for our final.
Yeah, you know, you say that we did see some Icebringer come out of MSA yesterday. They did put Serchik on that in quite a few of their games. But again, that was very much a case of it almost didn't matter what Serchik was playing because it was just Mizo and Scratch Off bullying the other team and then Serchik getting to drive around the map. On the other side, you know, with the flexibility that comes out of Neon Knights side, maybe expect them to try and look for a double support setup in this first game. And then maybe they do lean towards that Full Metal Judge or the Black Lotus later on in the series if they're not finding success with kind of just picking up that double support comp. But, you know, this first plan, we haven't really talked about the Artificer. I think that's something both of these teams are strong on, but because they're strong on so many different things, that may actually end up slipping through in a couple of these games as teams try to feel each other out and ban stuff away.
All right, so Clunker ban to start us off here in the first draft. I mean, we saw the power of the Clunker pick in the previous series. However, Neon Knights, wary of the Vulture coming out. They do not want that in the hands of, I would imagine, Mizo, if MS Assembly were to take that. So that's being denied. Artificer on the table, Rampage still on the table, as well as a host of other picks, including something like the Photon.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of a toss-up here for MS Assembly, whether they went for the Rampage or the Artificer. But given how much, you know, we've talked of how much impact their Interceptor players can have, they do opt for the Rampage in the end. We'll have to see. There's a lot of Rampage players on the MS Assembly side. Even Serchik played it quite a lot during the tournament, even though we saw him yesterday in the Icebringer. So that could end up in almost anyone's hands over on MS Assembly. On the other side, Neon Knights will pick up the Artificer and the Peacemaker, you know, kind of the core of those comps they like to play, where you have the Peacemaker just as that big front line, kind of controlling the area in front of your comp as you deathball your way around the map. The Artificer then just following behind. So over on the MS Assembly side, Stingray probably then, you know, you could have another Interceptor come out for them. You could pick up something like the Wildfire, like even the Killer J could come out, or they may opt for the Metal Herald just to deny that away from Metal Knight, or sorry, the Photon, of course. Then a good denial as well from from Neon Knights.
Yeah, Photon being taken away there. I think still a few options here for Neon Knights. They could take the Metal Herald and look for to support to Interceptor, or they could just opt for triple Interceptor. There will be the Metal Herald locked in, so that's two supports taken for themselves. Artificer and Metal Herald can make it work. And I'm just wondering what MSA choose to round out their composition with, whether they go for a Transporter or I think they actually will take the Icebringer here. So running that back here, Icebringer, we didn't see it in the previous series, but MSA thinking they can make it work here for game one.
Yeah, definitely. Just running that one back, as you say. Serchik, he looked okay on it. The finishing was maybe a little bit sloppy a lot of the time yesterday, but they did such a good job of just consistently getting the ball up to the opposition's line that it really didn't matter that, they had plenty of chances to get it over. And if it only goes in 1 times out of 10 and you get 30 chances, doesn't really matter, because you're still going to score those 3 goals in the end. I really like the Killer J here as the answer for Neon Knights. That's really strong, especially into these the Stingray and the Rampage on the other side. Both of them have kind of key abilities that have quite long windups and need to be aimed quite carefully. And Killer J can do a really good job of just kind of throwing those off and like forcing them to miss those shots.
Yeah, double support control comp coming out from Neon Knights. It's what we like to see from them. And with that Peacemaker as well, they can set themselves up for these good starts and just slowly walk it forward. But you have to imagine that these interceptors on the side of MSA, as well as that Icebringer who can kind of just get in the way with all the ice coming down, they'll be looking to just disrupt that as much as possible. And we'll see how effectively MSA can do that.
Yeah, and I was saying Killer J can force the Rampage and the Stingray to miss some of those shots, but at the same time, Icebringer is so effective as actually setting up those kind of long delay abilities for his teammates. You just freeze someone in place and Rampage just gets to sit on top of them, pop the Saturday shift, or, his Stingray gets to perfectly line up the Ultra Death Laser. And either way... Blaster. Ultra Final Blaster. Damn it, I knew I was slightly off on that one. But either way, he gets to line it up, and either way, whatever it's called, it's still going to do a heap of damage when it actually manages to hit someone. So it is a nice combo they've managed to pick up for themselves here, and we'll have to see. It's going to be Mizo and Scratch on those 2 interceptors most likely, and I think just watch them because the impact that they can have on this game is going to be pretty deciding, and how effectively Neon Knights can actually shut them down with kind of the Peacemaker, with the healing out of the double support comp. And see if they can actually manage to keep Mizo and Scratch at bay in this game.
Yeah, Interceptor Brute Force has been doing well for MSA, but I'm not sure that Neon Knights are as easy enough to crack here in terms of their defensive play, and we'll see if they can execute well enough on the more control aspects of their composition. Obviously, they did quite well with it previously. I believe they ran... Was it the this exact composition? I know they had the Peacemaker, the Artificer, and the Metal Herald at one stage, or was it actually the Photon? I'm trying to remember the exact comp scope.
Yeah. I know they definitely had a Photon in a similar comp at one point, but the Artificer and the Photon filling fairly similar roles here. They will be a little bit scrappy off the kickoff, but they will manage to lock it down. And now we'll see how well Scratch and Mizo managed to do these interceptors at actually breaking up the opposite side. Never mind, it is actually going to be Serchik on that Rampage. We said he was a big Rampage player as well. And this time around, it's Walland on the carry, and they've put Scratch onto the Photon. And so it will actually be Mizo on that Stingray. So a little bit of a mix-up here from MSA in terms of who's playing what. We'll have to see if Mizo on this Stingray and Scratch on this Photon have as big an impact as they had yesterday.
Big scrap coming down here at the start of this one. Neon Knights were able to get the bomb for themselves, and now looking to see if they can make a play, but MSA once again just relentless on the offense here. Neon Knights have been able to keep it for themselves, and once again able to pick off Mizo Stingray. That's the second time he's gone down early in this game here. Serchik trying to do some form of damage here, just be as much of a nuisance as the Rampage is, while also doing heaps of damage as well. And just these big, aggressive, crowd-controlling members on the side of MSA, but not really doing much for the moment. Here comes the defense of that double support comp, the Metal Herald ultimate being used, and now Neon Knights finding pick after pick here. Only Scratch left standing. He's taken down. That's an ace coming through. Neon Knights off to a great start here in the opening of this game 1.
Yeah, and already this Death Ball comp, Neon Knights, they just play it so effectively. It's so much pressure on Churchill here to do it. He manages to take all 4 onto the dropper, but it's not...
He's able to pull it through. A slow from Executor, but he's able to finally drive into the goal, getting it over the line just about on the Metal Herald, and the first blood in this best-of-5 final going over to Neon Knights.
We say Neon Knights were dangerous when they got this double support comp, and you see it, they just move as a unit. Their health bars never drop below about 3/4, with the Artificer and the Metal Herald there to constantly heal and shield all the way back up. And no answer for MSA, just like in the semi-finals yesterday. It's super difficult to find an answer to this, and I don't know, man, MSA, it's looking like a little bit of a struggle for them so far in this game.
Defense is the name of the game here for Neon Knights, and just grouping up, healing up, and shutting down the aggression from MSA to get themselves that first goal here. Now, once again, getting the bomb off the start and looking to try keep it, but a nice pushback from Searchik on the Rampage will dispossess. However, Genos is there to just grab it straight back here on the Killer Jail. They'll likely look to get it back onto this Artificer here, and Neon Knights just controlled. They don't care if they're being dispossessed once by the Rampage. They're straight back on the bomb. They get it back onto who needs to have it, and now they're able to actually make some ground here with the Artificer.
Yeah, and you can see immediately now it's just 3 or 4 members of Neon Knights sitting back on top of each other. They're so good at just slowly moving the play back together. I mean, you know, they're essentially models just inside each other the entire time in terms of the cars. It's just so hard to deal with, and there isn't quite enough damage coming out of Neon Knights to actually get through all of this. Or it's out of MSA.
You can see actually Boot Rider there. There's the kind of the patience coming through. As soon as things don't look okay, just straight back out of the dropper zone. Red Carpet used, but doesn't do a ton of damage. Doesn't create a ton of space for them either. In MSA now, they're kind of slowing things down a little bit as well. They're just camping in this area for now, and Neon Knights maybe are going to have to bide their time here because they're not looking to make any sort of aggressive play whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. And we've seen Neon Knights, kind of the most patient team in these playoffs. They're happy to just sit back and wait for those key big ultimates to actually come up. They don't need to push forward. And the thing is that with this kind of double support comp, you can afford to do that. You can afford to wait for key abilities to be there because you're not really under any pressure. If MSA tried to dive headfirst into them, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. And the problem is MSA, they tried to dive in there and immediately Searchik gets taken out.
Searchik going down. They tried to force Boot Rider onto the droppers, but he just finds the gap on the barrier and keeps a hold of the bomb, and they've managed to make it through that section once again. Mizo trying to find the blaster, but doesn't connect with anybody there. They clear out the Stingray as well. They have their Rampage back and just try to see if they can force them onto the droppers once again, and they actually do. Searchik was able to pick up the bomb on the Rampage here, but we see the Thunderdome being used to dispossess them, and it pushes over the line. Second goal comes through from Neon Knights, and Boot Rider finds the great Artificer ultimate.
Yeah, it's not the traditional way we see the Artificer ult being used to score those goals, but, Thunderdome is pretty versatile, and he manages to force the Churchick out over the side dropper there. And just so much pressure out of this Neon Knights comp. MSA are just on the back foot massively in this game so far. And I mean, this is just why you can't afford to give Neon Knights this double support comp. They're so practiced on it, and there's just so much pressure that comes out of them. As a little bit of a scrappy takeoff. They haven't been clean from either of the teams that we've seen so far
not a clean take for Neon Knights, and Mizo's actually able to get the bomb for himself, loses it there, but Wallen should be able to pick this up in response, although he's not able to get it for himself. And actually, it is Boot Rider who comes away with the bomb off the back of that scrap there. Mizo as well is going to have to retreat, and MSA just not finding the avenues. And on the other hand, Neon Knights doing a great job of actually closing out these kills, making sure that the picks are secured, and with that they're able to get this Artificer moving up the field. Neon Knights
Genos
not looking like the underdogs at all in this opening game here. This is so clean from them in game one.
No, not at all. I mean, Genos on this Killer J is just making an absolute nuisance of himself. Stop the pickup by Wallen back there in the middle of the pitch. He's really doing a good job of making sure it's very hard for the key members of MSA to actually get into the middle of this death ball as well, and actually land key abilities even if they are there. I've seen this before, and it didn't go well for MSA last time.
And once again, they're looking to press forward and try find Boot Rider, but he just steps to the side. The Searchik has gone down here. The Artificer has to be careful. Finally, we see that Stingray ultimate connect. They can turn that one back around. Wallen has possession of the bomb, and for the first time seemingly in this series, MSA catch a break.
Yeah, but it's not going to be for long here. Wallen under a huge amount of pressure. You have to imagine he's going to get dropped here. He is healed all the way back up though, so maybe a chance for them to actually make some ground.
A big repair coming through from both the Icebringer E and the Photon, and Wallen able to keep himself safe here in MSA now. They're also not pressing this too far forward, just making sure that they can actually get some kills for themselves when needs be as they take out Executor's Metal Herald here. A big scrap right in the middle, but I almost feel that favors things like the Rampage in those scenarios here as MSA able to bring the bomb back to halfway.
Yeah, and finally MSA looking like they might be able to make some ground. Wallen just getting to drive forward. The interceptor play cleaning up a little bit here from MSA, just giving Wallen the space he needs to make it all the way through. And another big Stingray coming out from Mizo is going to do a lot of damage and give space for MSA to move.
Mizo really beginning to wake up on this Stingray here, and MSA now finally able to just push them back here. They're kind of adopting the death ball themselves, but they're a lot quicker on how they press forward here as Wallen just drives straight through. Very little opposition for this Icebringer here, and actually just going the wrong way, trying to dispossess himself. The bomb lands in the hands though of Mizo Stingray here as he tries to press forward on himself here. Does get it to Searchik. They're not able to get it to the Icebringer just yet. Finally it's passed off to Wallen. A bit of a scary situation there for MSA, but they do have it back on their transporter. However, now he's a little bit isolated here. They're trying to push Wallen down over the side with the Thunderdome, but they're not able to finish him off here. The self-repair from the E is not enough, and they dispossess Wallen in the nick of time by killing him. Boop Rider back with the bomb.
Yeah, now Neon, take a couple of deep breaths, settle yourselves, you've got your death ball back, and it's time to just push forward. Play it slow, play that patient style. And Neon need to be really careful in this series that they don't get kind of sucked into the mayhem that MSA kind of like to play. Neon are kind of our most patient team, and they need to be able to keep that footing and keep that patient style moving in this series. There's a big scrap, going to see a lot of Neon members drop low, and Scratch is keeping people healed up, but it's not going to be enough for MSA. I think Neon are going to get clear of their own half here.
All this focus on Boop Rider is not working out as well as they would like a lot of the time, as the Artificer are seemingly always able to slide out of peril there. The picks did come through from Neon Knights, and there's just Wallen left alive. The Icebringer's not going to really do enough solo, although Searchik respawning may help here. MSA finally getting the machines back onto the arena here. Nice dispossess comes through from the Icebringer, but once again, Neon Knights quick on the ball to pick the bomb up once again here, regroup, get the heals back in. Searchik a little bit over aggressive, and he will fall down. Neon Knights just trying to re-establish that controlled pace.
Yeah, and I just want to point out Genos having a fantastic game on this Killer J. He's forced a couple of dispossessions. He's done a really good job of making sure key abilities don't land in the middle of these scraps as well. So just watch Genos, because it's him that's allowing a huge amount of the pressure from Neon Knights in these big death ball fights.
Ooh, Thunderdome being used by Boop Rider there just to make sure that he does not go down, but it does allow them to drive onto this final straight. The disruption on that Stingray ultimate followed by Mizo going down here, and a man down on this defense. We can see Wallen camping this one up here. Neon Knights will want to make use of this opportunity before the Stingray spawns in, although they're waiting for their own Killer J as well, so maybe not the best time. Genos now finally back up to make a bit of a play here, and Neon Knights just so patient with how they're playing this.
Yeah, just waiting for all four members. They recognize that their comp in the straight 4v4 probably does a little bit better just running each other. The Killer J ult will go down without hitting anyone, and now Neon Knights, without a couple of big cooldowns, are going to have to find a nice way through here. It's going to be tough.
They do manage to pick up Searchik, the Metal Herald ultimate as well, making sure that they can just opt for that big scrap. Peacemaker ultimate to use as well, and Boop Rider thinking of making the play there, but Wallen using the Black Ice just to make him rethink it. Finds the gap around the side, and Neon Knights with the victory in game 1. And what a performance from them to start this series off.
Yeah, statement game from Neon Knights here in game number 1. Boop Rider finding his way through, and you just saw it playing around that Peacemaker red carpet so effectively. They loved those big ults. They had to use the Artificer ult a little bit quicker, so they didn't have their preferred tool for forcing their way through, but the adaptation coming out of Neon Knights, waiting for the Peacemaker ult instead, then waiting until it caused a little bit of confusion, a little bit of disruption in the defense of MSA, and forcing the ball home to give themselves the 3-0 victory in this game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about the MSA interceptors before this series started, but just the level of disruption coming out of both the Peacemaker and the Killer J in that series. I mean, on top of just the fact that Neon Knights were just so happy to just consistently group up and absorb all of the pressure coming at them from MSA, they just completely kept their heads cool for nearly all of that game, and it really showing there. MSA just not with an answer for a lot of that to what Neon Knights was executing.
Yeah, and I think, Mizo and Scratch, the fact that Scratch was put onto transporter duties instead of getting the interceptor, like, he's maybe a little bit more used to, looked like it was kind of haunting MSA a little bit in that game. I think Searchik didn't quite have the same performance as the rampages we saw from MSA yesterday. He kind of dived in first ahead of the team a couple of times and got taken out by the death ball, which is super dangerous, especially the rampage. If you dive in alone, the Killer J has all the time in the world to make sure that you're not landing those big abilities, making sure that you're getting disrupted and the W is getting hit out of the way from the rampage. And so yeah, as you say, just the disruption that was available and the play out of Neon Knights was just so good in that game. And I think, MSA need to take a look at how they assigned champions that game and look at how they drafted and make some adaptations going into game number 2. I
Yeah,
like it
just
on that
looking.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Peacemaker once again coming through. It has been such a huge pick for
Yep.
Neon Knights and leading the stats in that game. I mean, I
Mm.
I'm almost would consider a ban against it at this stage, considering how crucial it is to that defensive style that Neon Knights are running.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely massive, the zones it can create and the safety it gives your transporter for those more dangerous stretches of the track. We'll see if MSA think something similar coming into this second game, because, like I said, just not able to deal with the control, disruption, and the heals coming out of Neon Knights.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the same time, I mean, you see the scratch there. That photon was still just so powerful. Even on the losing side, was able to do a huge amount of healing, and that's something that we expect to see probably still stay high in priority, because the fact as well that Neon Knights made this Deathball comp work without the photon, who, as we said, I think I probably almost favor the photon just in those extended scraps when you're looking to just sit as four together over the Artificer. I think is really impressive. I mean, obviously the Artificer a little bit more effective at scoring goals. We saw Boop Rider with an interesting first or second goal there, forcing Searchick out.
Yeah.
Thunderdome better at actually making those finishes, but as you say, the Peacemaker, they're so good at playing around that anyway, that if they manage to pick up something like the Photon Metal Herald Peacemaker, they're still absolutely fine with playing that style and playing around those big ultimates to try and win games.
Yeah, certainly. And looking at the draft for this second game, it will be now Neon Knights with that first pick. And like I said, I am wondering what happens coming into this one, because, like I said, MSA may want to deny one of the key picks for Neon Knights from that first game. Last time they took away the Clunker, so potentially that's a pick that we see make its way through. I would be surprised if they switched up from the Vulture ban. I think, especially given what happened in that last game, that would be a pick that would certainly help MSA out a lot if to that exact comp if they could get their hands on it. So I'm curious as to what MSA actually look to take away with that second ban.
Yeah, I think potentially you just take away maybe the Artificer or one of the key supports here. Although at the same time, then maybe if you're MSA, I mean, they've looked, as we said, so good on these interceptors. So you probably want to pick up either the Clunker or the Rampage, ideally both. But the problem is, if you then try to pick up both with your two picks, you're guaranteeing that that Neon Knights can pick up both the Artificer and the Photon, or the Artificer and the Metal Herald, or the Metal Herald and the Photon, no matter what you ban. So MSA do need to be a little bit careful with how they approach this draft in terms of what they actually do in the end decide to ban and what they decide to pick, because unless they maybe with the Clunker or the Rampage, they do a good job of dealing with that Deathball comp, and their kind of interceptors can actually break it apart. The Clunker obviously provides much more disruption than just the Rampage by itself alongside the Stingray, but still not 100% convinced that just the Clunker and the Rampage will be enough to destroy the double support comp with how well Neon Knights play that comp.
Yeah, it's just so well how defensively they play it, and if they can get a lot of the pieces once again, it will require a much different strategy, I think, from MSA in order to get past that. I'm trying to think of maybe some of the damage that could cut through all the defense, but it's tough when they just they're so happy to just anytime anyone steps forward, they just peel back onto their Metal Herald, and in that case the Artificer, and get the heals. The Metal Herald ultimate as well, especially when that's available, makes it really tricky to force anyone out. And often when they do that, we saw them getting picked off, especially that Rampage. He dives in, doesn't find a kill, and ends up being picked off, and with him being taken out.
That was actually something I was about to bring up. That was something I was about to bring up, is specifically that the Neon Knights we talked about are very much that team that play as a single unit. Even when they're playing slightly different comps, their coordination, their teamwork is absolutely there. MS Assembly, on the other hand, that team that relies on just individual play and individual outplay a little bit more. And that was definitely what we saw in that game, was it that individual, that tendency to go towards individual plays being punished by Neon Knights. When that Rampage stepped too far forward, it got punished. When Stingray got caught out, the Killer J would just be there to make the ultimate miss, and Stingray's down as well, and all of a sudden there's just no defense left to prevent those big ultimates from the Peacemaker, from the Artificer, from actually just getting the ball across the line. So MS Assembly, they either need to pick up champions that enable those individual plays much more effectively. Stuff like the Clunker might be viable for that. Stuff like the Vulture, if they can get their hands on it, much better for that kind of strategy. But if they don't get their hands on it, they need to find another answer. And that answer, I mean, can you even outplay the level of teamwork that comes out of this Neon Knights if you try to meet them on those terms?
One thing I think, if they do somehow find the Clunker in this draft, is that he can actually disassemble kind of the unit with all of the crowd control, whether it be the Singularity or even just the Magnet. So maybe MS Assembly will try manipulate the draft to get that pick into their hands. But we are into the second draft. Again, this is the best of 5, and Neon Knights taking that first game. And as we expected, no Vulture here for MSA.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that is one of those champions that absolutely can enable someone like Mizo to just individually carry the game. You know, he does so much damage. The more kills he gets, the more damage he's going to do in future with that thrill of the hunt. And so letting Mizo get his hands on that, I think, is a good way, if you are Neon Knights, to kind of let MS Assembly back into these games. And MS Assembly are actually going to ban away the Clunker themselves. I expect now to see MS Assembly try and pick up the Killer J at some point during this draft.
We'll see if that's what they opt for here, but Neon Knights with the first pick. Will they opt for the Artificer? It's been working out nicely whenever they've been able to get their hands onto it. So I'd be surprised if they went and left it, and they will take it for themselves first. So once again, grabbing that key support for themselves does allow them to go in multiple different directions with their composition. We've seen them lean on that double support, but whether or not they want it back for this game is the question. MSA now with 2 picks, and you have to imagine they'll want at least one big interceptor here.
Yeah, probably. I think they probably have to take the Photon away, first of all. So that's one of their 2 picks gone already. And then, you know, the Killer J put in so much work. It's the Metal Herald. So, I mean, they could go for Metal Photon themselves here and look to play the double support instead. If not, you're just giving the Photon straight over to Neon Knights. So they will go for the double support themselves. So there's a lot of good interceptors.
Yeah, that's a lot of support there. Neon Knights could just try swing into the single, like the Artificer and the triple interceptor comp if they want, with a lot of key interceptors up and available. They can also take the Peacemaker here, which has been a big pick for them, and they are going to do so. So maybe they do want to opt for something a little bit more controlly. But in any case, I think double support would be quite a reach for Neon Knights here, given that Metal Herald and Photon have been taken off the table. They're just going for the exact same interceptor pairing as they got last time, Peacemaker and Killer J being snapped up. I would guess that it's a Rampage coming through for MSA here if they can get their hands on it.
You'd have to imagine it is. Otherwise, Neon Knights snap that up in their last pick, and then they have Peacemaker, Killer J, Rampage. It's like kind of the best interceptor combo that you have available. So it will be the Rampage. Otherwise, you're just giving too much power across to Neon Knights, I think. And you don't give yourself enough of a front line on this double support comp. So final pick here for Neon Knights. They could either go for the Stargazer, try for that double support comp, although it's maybe not as strong with Stargazer, but I think this Stingray, the triple interceptor comp, is much stronger in this situation. Decisions for MS Assembly.
I mean, it was either a transporter or just the best interceptor on the table, and they do actually go for the Stingray. Black Lotus, the response. So they will take a transporter with their 2 supports in the double support comp. I can see you making a bit of a face at that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough for this Black Lotus to survive, and what that also means is there's some damage on this MS Assembly side, but not a huge amount of it. I mean, the Metal Herald and the Rampage is your damage. The Rampage, you know, we talked about it last game, gets shut down a little bit by that Killer J in these kind of scrappy fights. The Black Lotus doesn't bring a huge amount of damage out. And then there's so much damage and control on the other side from Neon Knights between, you know, like the Peacemaker making sure that, you know, the Black Lotus probably still doesn't get the ball straight at the start. Killer J disrupting the enemy team. It's going to be a difficult game for the Black Lotus. So we'll see who MS Assembly decide to put that one on. But kind of very different styles coming out of both games in this, both teams in this game number 2. And we'll have to see how they adapt their play styles. Neon Knights not playing that double support comp. They looked good yesterday on the Artificer triple interceptor comp, but maybe not as strong as they just looked, or as comfortable as they looked on this double support comp. So we'll see how this game turns out. MS Assembly trying their own hand at the double support comp with the different spin when you actually put an transporter in with it as well. And the Black Lotus could provincially just dodge around everything that's going on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, once again, if you can't get your hands on a Black Lotus, then they're just going to take it all the way home here, and we'll see if the more controlling elements of this Neon Knights composition is on point. I actually do kind of like the adaptation here from MS Assembly. I'm not sure that their composition necessarily has as clean damage as maybe some of the other picks they could have gone for if they wanted the same setup. But I mean, certainly, once again, these are guys who can execute a number of these picks, and obviously seemingly very fond of that rampage. So they'll be hoping for some big plays with that here. Whereas I believe, have we seen Neon Knights on stream on the on without the double support comp so far? I know
we did,
like. Yeah,
we saw them game 2 yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that was also with the Peacemaker. Yeah, I mean, Peacemaker seems to be the real core here, and when they can get that with the Artificer, they're happy to kind of pair it with whatever. A lot of crowd control coming out of this composition between Peacemaker, Killer J, and all the Stingray knockback coming through as well. And I think when it comes to some of these like longer stretches that we see Neon Knights usually camp up for, maybe a few more tools to kind of brute force their way through with the Stingray damage to kind of make MSA rethink how they approach a little bit.
Yeah, as you say, maybe more tools to brute force their way through, but also this time around, maybe better answers to the kind of like pokey style that Neon Knights like to play with the Photon and with the Metal Herald. You can kind of absorb that pressure a little bit better, but we are going to have to see MS Assembly definitely play more as that unit. You know, they're going to have to stack on top of each other much better than they did in the last game. You can't have, a single person diving forward by themselves, because at that point, the Metal Herald and Photon can't really do the healing stuff. They can't support it as effectively. I am glad to see MS Assembly move away from this Icebringer. I don't think it's actually been a very strong pick for them, even despite the fact they've been winning games with it. I don't think it's been the reason they've been winning games, and I'm glad to see them moving towards something that plays to their strengths a little bit more. In the Black Lotus, you have much more just outplay potential on your opponents individually, and that's something that, we said MSA love to do. They love to just individually outplay, and the Black Lotus definitely gives them a little bit more room for that.
Yeah, I think I would be imagining that it's Wallen taking the Black Lotus here, and he can be quite potent on that, so I'm excited to see what he brings to the table here. And like I said, enough evasion will get around a lot of the things that MSA struggled with in that opening game, and I'm excited because it's a bit of a different dynamic to what we had in that first game here. I think first game we saw both teams on staples, whereas this time around now they've been forced to mix it up a little bit as we get ready for our second game. Neon Knights once again with that strong start. Peacemaker, he makes it so easy. He just knocks the bomb back, and actually Agadat taking it for himself, maybe trying to find the opportunity to offload it to Boop Rider's Artificer here. But on the early scrap, MSA able to do quite a bit of work. The nice dispossess coming out from that rampage here. It's knocked back, and actually it will be Mizo who grabs the bomb for himself.
Yeah, and as you say, Mizo actually back on this rampage. They've decided not to put it in Searchic's hands this time around, and I like that. As I said, I think Mizo has been a standout player for this MSA squad on these interceptors, so giving him a chance to show how much he can do on this rampage. Looking forward to seeing what he can actually make happen in this game. And as well, making moves now on this. That's a good karma coming out, and looking strong on this Black Lotus so far.
Yeah, they're able to clear out Scratch and Searching, so both supports going down, and now Wallen is going to have to play this defensively. They're likely going to try finish that pick onto Mizo's rampage as well. They're just splitting up and hunting down whoever they can. Wallen now with the bomb has been pushed back quite a ways, but as we say, Black Lotus, slippery transport to try and get your hands on, and Wallen doing a good job of the evasion coming through. The respawns have come in from both supports as well, so I feel as if Neon Knights missed a bit of an opportunity there.
Yeah, and you say Wallen, he's been pushed all the way back, but at the same time, he's not actually really been under all that much pressure, His health bar hasn't really dropped below 3/4 with the Metal Herald and the Photon in his back pocket at times. He's been using the karma effectively. He's finally taking a bit of damage, but, he's been doing a very good job of dodging most damage coming his way.
Yeah, and now MSA back on the offensive here and doing a good job of now hunting down for these picks. They take away the Peacemaker here, and Wallen just completely untouched as the pressure coming out from the interception. I was going to say interceptors, but it is just the rampage. The supports as well, though, bringing the damage too. That's 3 kills for them. The last person left alive is this Artificer here. Respawn does come in from Agadat, but he's immediately met with the Bulldozer here. The respawns, though, may give Neon Knights a chance to defend here on the line. MSA maybe looking for the push here. The Artificer now looking for the push onto the droppers with the Thunderdome, but Wallen just retreating, keeping Boop Rider at arm's length here as MSA making sure they don't overstep.
Yeah, you can see maybe one of the big failings in MSA's comp is they don't really have tools to brute force their way across the line, except for the Rampage. And Agadaf getting a kill down there means that they're going to have to bide their time a little bit longer. It is hard for MSA's comp to actually get across this line if there are any members of Neon Knights back.
Yeah, MSA were kind of backed into a corner there, but once again stepping forward and Walland, forcing Neon Knights to just watch their goal line. And on the side, Genos is taken out, so Neon Knights down a man for this defense. We'll see if Mizo looks for a big pushback here. They have the Metal Herald ultimate as well if Walland is pressured at all. So a little bit of extra shield, and actually they do manage to push him off, but Walland just steps back, retreats, picks up the bomb here. Mizo taken down though means there's a lot less pushback to actually force Neon Knights off this line, and MSA struggling to crack the last defenses of Neon Knights for their first goal.
Ooh, and Wallen just getting caught out a little bit there. There was a really big moment back there when it was either Mizo or Agada was going to go down, and Agada just managing to snipe out Mizo meant that the push had to be stopped, as there was, instead of being kind of, a 3v2 in favor of MSA, it was a 3v2 in the other direction. As now Neon Knights, for the first time, will have the ball onto this Artificer, and will be able to look for a little bit of pressure of their own. Although Scratch immediately getting taken out will mean Neon Knights get to push forward a little bit harder.
We'll see what they can do here. Ingeman one subbing in for this game to play that third interceptor here, and has been doing some work on the Stingray so far. And now Neon Knights, we see them back at it, grouped up around this Artificer, and they are just picking off all the members of MSA trying to make a play here. And it was a scary start, a bit of a nervy one for Neon Knights, but they seem to be back and in control with the bomb in possession. But respawns coming in for MSA, a lot of damage coming through the red carpet, not necessarily connecting, but Genos finding that pick on the side on to Scratch, and Neon Knights just consistently able to find anyone in their way, and with this triple interceptor comp actually finding the picks necessary to make this composition work.
Yeah, and you can see Neon Knights, they do like saving that Artificer special weapon for when they get to the line, but also not afraid to use it to just make sure they can continue to get a bit more ground. Popping it there to steal everyone back up to full and making sure that the 4v2 push could continue. As Boop Rider now under a little bit of pressure, will just back off a little bit as Neon continue to try and just force MSA back.
MSA now maybe once again looking to make an aggressive play here off the back of this Rampage, but Boop Rider doing a good job of evading everything coming his way for the moment, but eventually Serchik will find him. Mizo gives his life for that on the side, but Walland was the first to the bomb, picks it up for himself, and MSA have stopped the push of Neon Knights.
Yeah, Wallen just so slippery on this Black Lotus. Actually managed to dodge between the 3 shots of the Discs of Doom from the Stingray there, which is, I mean, that's just pretty good driving, you know? But again, the problem for this MSA squad is it doesn't matter how slippery Walland is and how good he can be at getting through the open field, because once they get to that line, once the entirety of both teams are forced into one small area, there's just not a lot of tools on MSA to actually force the other team out of the way. It's just Mizo on that Rampage, and all it takes is 1 or 2 people dodging that, and it's still hard for Wallen to actually put the ball back into the net.
Right now though, controlling the middle of the field, all 4 members on full health. Mizo a little bit isolated there, but able to step back in time to avoid himself going down for now, although Ingeman with the Stingray ultimate actually catching 2. And once again, maybe this is an opportunity for Neon Knights to try get the bomb back for themselves. Wallen, a tricky customer for them to have to deal with, but even so, they're seemingly able to find these picks quite often.
Yeah, and Wallen, what he's doing really well is finding opportunities to land his weapon 1, which reduces the cooldown of the Karma. So he actually has Karma up very, very often, which makes it so hard to actually land the damage onto him. As he just backs out, tried for that one, and then immediately took a lot of damage, backing out and getting himself prepared.
Yeah, not overstepping here has been Wallen's game plan. It got them close at the start of this game, but it didn't get them over the line. And now Neon Knights doing their best to defend here. You can see MSA, they're trying to see if they can finish off any kills. Genos in a lot of trouble firing off the big joke, but he will go down. And Neon Knights now a man down here. You'd have to imagine that MSA are just going to try to clear them out and move this bomb forward. Retreat coming through for most of the Neon Knights here, and Agada kind of caught out by himself. Went back to the bomb. Wallen looking to advance up the field, and MSA looking like they're going to be getting ready for another goal attempt.
Yeah, I think this is the real danger zone if you're Neon Knights, because this is where MSA are really going to look to try and find a couple of kills, and if they find the kills here, that's when Wallen will really try and make his move down the home straight and actually score the goal. So Genos going down here could be a big deal.
You can see immediately Wallen trying to step forward and get himself into that goal-scoring range here. Another member of Neon Knights is low. Ingeman should be going down here. Searcher can't find the damage with the Photon Q, and Wallen will fire it in. And for the first time in this series, MSA send the bomb over the goal line.
Yeah, you know, to steal a quote from League of Legends, death is the best CC. You know, this time around, MSA not trying to just get all 4 members to the line and wait for Neon Knights to get back as well. You know, the kind of style that Neon Knights played in the first game. Instead, just picking off members early on and then pushing really aggressively once they found those 2 picks. And a really nice finish by Walnut as well. You know, it still wasn't easy when they got to the line. There was 2 members of Neon Knights sitting there, but he managed to sneak the shot inside, and Walnut managing to steal the ball away on that kickoff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the Black Lotus getting there extra quick or if it was the Peacemaker missing on the missile. But in any case, Wallen taking the bomb away, and that is something that Neon Knights are really looking to avoid when it comes to all of these kickoffs. However, able to find a couple of picks for themselves, making it tough. And actually with Wallen going down, Bookbrider back with the bomb. So Neon Knights able to quickly write a bit of a messy start there and get themselves back with possession into that orange half.
Yeah, so now a chance for Neon Knights to push forward in this one. Boop Rider and the Idler Fist are just, you know, doing what they do, taking it slow, playing it casual. And they will just stack as 4 here and now look to push down through this straight as MSA. Killer J kind of the key piece here, and Peacemaker as well in forcing the MSA members out of the way. Yeah,
Genos looking to scrap and going low as a result here, but Boop Rider meanwhile has actually managed to make it fairly cleanly past those droppers, and Neon Knights now in dangerous territory. Mizo looking for the big play, but he will go down. Wallen is also gone as well, and I don't see Scratch getting out of this, although he does have the ultimate to keep himself alive, but with multiple members, big Stingray ultimate comes through, just looking to force it over the line, but they just drive it straight to Scratch, and he picks that one up. They finish him off, but the respawn comes through from Wallen as well, and he gladly takes the bomb. Neon Knights just not executing to finish off that goal, and MSA will look to drive this one away.
Yeah, Neon Knights, they didn't have any of the big key ultimates that they like to have available to try and make that finish, and so in the end it was, you know, a really, I mean, he kind of well played by Scratch, but all he really did was sit in front of the goal, and Neon Knights a little bit over aggressive, just forced it away, and now Wallen did a good job of surviving for a long time there, but finally taken down by Agatha. MSA still need to be careful here. There is the chance that Neon can force this one home.
Looking to see if they can take out Mizo here on the Rampage. The Rampage doesn't want to be the one holding onto the bomb for now as Neon Knights collapse around him, take him down. The bomb is free. We'll see who can pick it up. Ingeman trying to step back and get it for himself. It actually goes over to Genos here. Wallen has respawned. They're going to try to see if they can knock him onto the bumpers here. Not much sustain for this Killer J. How can they work this over the line? They can't actually, as Wallen just grabs that for himself. The Artificer ultimate not doing much in that situation. And once again, MSA preventing the goal from coming through.
It's getting scrappy, and this is what we warned against in game number 1, is Neon can't opt into MSA's playstyle. It's just getting scrappy on this to be the goal.
Here, we're sending this over the line, and finally Neon Knights find a way to get it over. The Artificer breaking clear, and Boop Rider equalizing this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a game on our hands. 1-1 here in game number 2 as Neon Knights strike back against MSA. Neon Knights, I caution against playing into MSA's hands a little bit too much. MSA love these scrappy fights. They love kind of getting aggressive and making other teams kind of feel a little bit desperate. And Neon Knights did look desperate on that goal line. And again, Wallen managed to stick this one away. Neon Knights, it's a little bit scrappy.
It's securing the starts now for MSA here. Wallen once again walking away with the bomb. Last time we saw Neon Knights actually collapse onto him and take him out fairly quickly, but this time it's not looking like the case, as Wallen able to get to space and making it tricky for Neon Knights to fully collapse onto him here. MSA doing well in this early scrap, taking out the Killer J, and now looking very comfortable at the start of this third round.
Yeah, and I want to give some credit to Mizo as well. You know, I think this MSA comp puts a lot of pressure on his shoulders. It's kind of the only real CC force and main damage source. He has to do a huge amount of work in these big, kind of open, scrappy plays. And him alongside Wallen, you know, they've been managing to find the space for this Black Lotus to actually get through. And, you know, the heals and shields coming out of Metal Held and Photon obviously helping as well and keeping Wallen a little bit safe. But, you know, if there is an interceptor player in this tournament who you'd feel okay about having this much pressure on their shoulders as the sole interceptor, it probably is Mizo.
Yeah, there's Mizo with two more picks to just justify what you were saying there. Clearing out a couple of members of Neon Knights, and Wallen looking to make some ground here. Using the Karma to try dodge out of the Artificer W. And once again, MSA trying to get within striking distance here, although pulling a bit far forward, dispossessing himself. And that will be Boot Rider picking the bomb back up. The Artificer is very low, but a few nice dodges coming through. They just need one more source of damage to stick. And Boot Rider will likely go down. The Artificer self-repair, though, from the passive helping out as well. Boot Rider now with the full self-repair on. And Neon Knights have established control of the bomb. They're sneaking that one away on their own side.
Oh, there was a great Peacemaker bullseye coming out from Agadah to start that play off with the dispossession. And Boot Rider did well, just driving for his life there, staying just in front of any of the potential sources of damage from MSA. And now Neon Knights looking dangerous again. This MSA comp is just struggling so much to actually convert once they get close to the opponent's side of the half. And that's the danger of these double support comps without two interceptors. You know, when you just throw Black Lotus in there instead, it's really hard to actually, find the crowd control or damage to knock out the enemy team.
Yeah, Black Lotus is getting you most of the way there, but they just haven't found a way to... well, they have found a way once this game to get it over the line, but like I said, just the execution of these goals is not necessarily as clean as maybe they would be wanting here. We've seen this before that big dropper stretch. Neon Knights just sitting back, taking their time, waiting for a cleaner opportunity, and maybe Scratch going down will allow them to press forward, although there's still the big bulldozer in their way. Genos trying to be a nuisance on the Killer J. You can see Mizo spinning in the middle of the field here. Trying to push Searching out now. Mizo looking for the dispossessed, but Boot Rider finally finds the angle, cruises by. Neon Knights now potentially setting up for a shot or two if they can get the bomb just a little bit further down.
Yeah, Mizo and Genos both out of that play, but that's a much bigger deal for MSA, and now this is a chance for Boot Rider.
Yeah, he's sliding up for the shot. MSA just clogging up the goal line here, but we'll see if the crowd control can help him out. Thunderdome is being used, and Boot Rider uses it to push it over the line. Neon Knights putting themselves 2-1 ahead. Boot Rider once again delivering the score.
It's a classic. We haven't seen it in a little while, but Boot Rider using the Thunderdome to just force everyone out of the way. That's why teams love this Artificer. It just makes scoring those goals so easy. And I mean, just contrast that with how long MSA had to camp out on the Neon line to score their first goal, I mean, Artificer just so powerful. And of course, Mizo getting taken out at just before that goal was scored meant that, there is no CC left to try and prevent the Neon team from getting all the way up to that line. So Mizo, as we said, kind of the key piece in this MSA defense and in actually allowing them to score goals. And it looks like it may not actually be enough in this game against the squad that Neon have put together.
Wallen a bit far forward here, but once again just backing off into the safety of those double supports to help him out as MSA once again the ones with the better start to this round here. Mizo looking for the ultimate, not able to find the kill just yet. However, actually Genos going down there. Genos will trade his life to take out Scratch in response here. Wallen going very, very low, but dodging out of the Discs of Doom. Self-repair now on this Black Lotus here. Searching as well has to keep an eye on his health bar. Mizo going down. It is just Wallen up for the moment here, looking to move through the droppers, and Karma on cooldown needs to find a way to dodge out of the damage coming through. But doing a good job of it. Karma goes back online, gives himself a bit of invulnerability, but onto the droppers means that Boot Rider can grab the bomb for himself. And it was a good try, but Neon Knight's able to get the bomb back.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing playing against this Killer J, is that I think what happened there was Wallen was trying to find the dash through, and Killer J at the last second redirected him, so he ended up dashing straight onto that dropper. And I mean, it's tough, just finding your way through this Neon squad as the lone Black Lotus. Wallen doing a good job of it, but it's just not been enough so far this game. He's making it most of the way there, but most of the way doesn't win prizes.
However, Mizo actually able to find the kill onto Boot Rider there, and that means they can get the bomb back onto this Black Lotus. A couple of key picks coming through, but immediately Mizo and Scratch are traded on in response. So for the moment, a 2v2, and the respawns will be coming in sooner for Neon Knights, so the defense will be there if needs be. Trying to see if they can finish off Wallen, and actually Agadah is able to do so. Looking to get the bomb straight back, dropping it a little bit. Searching actually hanging in the bomb fight, but he will be dropped. A bit hectic there, but Boot Rider back with the bomb in possession, and Neon Knights look to make up for that previous mistake.
Yeah, an uncharacteristically sloppy handoff from Neon Knights. They're a team that loves to kind of take their time and make sure that it's going to be 100% safe before they do actually hand it off. But this time around, they do eventually manage to get it back onto Boop Rider on this Artificer. And now see if they can actually manage to effectively carry this one out. MSA, you know, I mean, the individual play has been carrying them most of the way to this Neon goal, but it's not been quite enough to actually get them over the line. And really, that's all that matters in this game. You know, if you don't get the ball over the line, you don't get the score. And if you don't get the score, you're not going to win.
Exactly, and so far it's been Neon Knights who've doing the majority of the scoring so far this series, and maybe looking to do so once more here. Boop Rider stepping forward a little bit, potentially a bit isolated here, and a good bit of damage going down to this Artificer. Thunderdome actually being used as well as the red carpet, so Neon Knights feeling a little wary of being taken down and losing possession there, using 2 critical ultimates. Does allow Boop Rider to move far forward here, but maybe some of their better goal-scoring tools have been taken down for the time being.
Yeah, big goal scoring tools gone down. You can see Neon Knights know it. They're looking to just score off that big play.
However, the respawn coming through, the members weren't there. Boop Rider looking for the shot. The save comes through from Searchik, able to grab that one before it went over the line here. And now just looking to slow things down, waiting for Mizo to ultimate. He takes out the Artificer on MSA, denying the game-winning goal.
Oh, the pause comes through. A little bit unfortunate. I don't hate that push by Neon. You know, as you say, they used the 2 big ults that they normally use to force goals. And so, unfortunately, it meant that they didn't have them when they got to the line. But Neon Knights recognizing that, adapting to it, and just trying to push all the way to the line from basically the center of the map off the back of those big ultimates being used.
Yeah, it got them close, but in the end, I think MSA just about getting the members of their team on that goal line to deny that goal. It was a short pause, so we are just going to jump straight back into the action here, and we'll see what happens. Once again, Wallen back with the bomb in possession, so MSA should be looking to move this one out, as a lot of members of Neon Knights actually currently waiting to respawn here. Ingerman as well going to have to back off this play. MSA with a good opportunity to clear their lines.
Yeah, and as we say, you know, once Walden actually does get his hands on this ball, we can kind of expect that there is a good chance that MSA will manage to get quite deep into the Neon Knights half. It's just the converting it into a goal that has been hard for them, as we see another pause come through. Not entirely sure what's going on with these, but, you know, hopefully whatever issues we're having do get sorted quite quickly. But I do also want to draw attention to the fact that, you know, MSA may be looking a little bit uncomfortable. This is a team that only dropped 1 game all the way through qualifiers, and that was to, you know, something that wasn't necessarily his fault. It wasn't necessarily their fault. You know, I mean, it was, according to them at least, it was a disconnect when Scratch accidentally ended up on the Wind Rider during qualifiers. But Neon Knights really handing them their first loss of this entire tournament. And maybe MSA, not a team that's used to losing and being down in this game as well, maybe starting to have a little bit of, you know, shaky mental as we move forward in this series.
Yeah, so just to keep you guys informed, as you may be seeing in the chat, a bit of a connection issue for one of the players. Hopefully we'll have it resolved as quickly as we possibly can. It is Walland, I believe, just so you know, name and shame, I think, on the stream. But yeah, in any case, I think that's something to touch on. And I'm glad that you brought it up because, I mean, like you said, MSA, 1 game lost in the qualifiers, the 2-0 in the quarterfinal, 2-0 in the semi-final, and now coming in against Neon Knights here. And this is a team who seemingly has the answer. Even in game 2, knocked off that double support comp. Just these key picks. They're getting the Artificer, they're getting the Peacemaker, the Killer J. Just the level of control that it's allowing them. And the way that they set themselves up to finish off these goals in a lot of cases. And for these key fights, these key passages of play. MSA just, almost the chaos that they try approach with, just throwing themselves at it, relying on that skill check, hasn't been delivering all the time for them. Both game 1 and now even here in game 2.
Yeah, and I think part of that just comes down to how well Neon Knights have been drafting, you know, and the amount of power they get. They've recognized that this Vulture is kind of core to this play style that MSA like to play, you know, that they get a couple of big, high damage interceptors and then just look to hunt down the enemy team. And they've done a really good job of denying that so far in this series and preventing the chaos. You know, we'll see Wallen now carrying the ball forward. We do kind of expect him to get a long way towards the Neon Knights goal, but it's so hard for them to capitalize once they get there.
Yeah, now MSA back in that blue half here, and they're trying to see if they can get the damage down onto Wallen, clearing out Mizo and Searchik though, so maybe a bit of an opportunity to catch this Black Lotus out, although Wallen once again just being as tricky as he can and evading the oncoming pressure of Neon Knights. He's happy to take that bomb back to his own side to deny them the pick here, as he has waited for his teammates to respawn, and the task of dispossessing this Black Lotus becomes trickier.
Yeah, it definitely does. But Neon Knights, I mean, they can try and do it here, or they can wait until the ball's near their own goal and do it there. But either way, it's just going to be so hard for this Black Lotus to get over the line. And it's much more threatening, Neon Knights having scored 2 goals already in this game. They just need 1 more to close this one out. MSA need to do this twice. And you can see how much they're struggling just to get the ball into the Neon Knights half at all.
Yeah, wary of maybe putting Walland in a dodgy situation. The Metal Herald special weapon is used, so it gives them a bit of extra protection if they do want to make a push. However, that doesn't stop Mizo from going down in response. And now they maybe have a chance to pick off Walland. They get him, looking for the bomb. It has gone over to the Peacemaker, so will be handed to Boot Rider. And Neon Knights capitalizing on the chance to make a play.
Yeah, now with 4 men up, I think the Artificer special weapon and the Peacemaker special weapon will be there by the time they manage to make it to... Oh, no, never mind. There's the Peacemaker special weapon. But Artificer special weapon will probably still be there if they can make it to the MSA goal now, and that could just be this game. And MSA are in a dire situation right now.
Yeah, Boot Rider looking for a chance to make it through these droppers here. Actually does use the Thunderdome. They do manage to get a pick onto this Photon though, so that's 1 member down for MSA if they do try to get it over the line here. And Mizo as well, missing on that Saturday shift. Neon Knights now just trying to chase away these members as Mizo and Wallen on the line looking to make the play. We'll see if the knockbacks come through. Boot Rider holding back for the moment. Mizo trying to step forward, see if he can get the pick, but he's actually taken out by Agada. MSA still just camping these machines on the line. And Boot Rider so patient, waiting for a chance, waiting for one little gap to open itself up here. And MSA not committing to trying to push him onto the droppers, as this is so slow here. Mizo actually has the respawn coming through as well, so maybe this Rampage can try knock the Artificer back to take the bomb off. But as soon as he respawns, just take it out. That's a few key kills coming in. Trying to get it around Searching, but once again, he just picks that one up and drives away on the Metal Herald. He's killed in response, but Neon Knights back to square 1.
5 seconds.
Will this give the time for the respawns to come through? I don't think so. This should be just taken up the line here. Boot Rider does find it there. The respawns were not quick enough. And Neon Knights now 2-0 up and 1 game away from being the champions here in Metal League 8.
And I don't know who could have predicted this, but it wasn't me. I was not expecting to see Neon Knights in this position after game number 2. So patient on that finish line. As you say, Mizo went down at the start of that play, had time to respawn, get back. But by that time, Neon Knights also had the Peacemaker red carpet come down. They laid it down on top of the goal, got 3 quick kills. A little bit sloppy to finish it off then, but, Scratch by himself, not able to do the defensive heroics that would have been necessary to actually get that ball clear. And in the end, it is Neon Knights picking up another convincing game win. 3-1 in this one, 3-0 in the first game. Neon Knights, they've beaten an MSA team in a finals once before to become the Metal League champion, and they're looking to do it again here.
Yeah, this Neon Knights team just showing the grit that I think you need to win a tournament like this. Just every time that, even that second game, because that did not start off well for them. There was a lot of pressure coming out of MSA. They came out of the gates swinging and with that first goal, but Neon Knights kind of just resettled themselves, figured out what they needed to do with their composition, and just shut down MSA on the defensive side. And then eventually, like I said, it was a little bit sloppy when it came to actually finishing off the goals in a lot of instances. But I mean, you throw enough of these shots at the wall and they'll eventually stick. And Neon Knights just going from strength to strength here in this series. And I mean, MSA, they're in a real dire position right now.
Yeah, it's do or die time. MSA now need to reverse sweep this series if they want to win. And Agada, we said it in the last game. We said it in game 1 as well. That Peacemaker is so key for Neon Knights. I mean, maybe you do just have to try and take it away if you are MSA in this game number 3, because you need to try something. Everything that's gone on so far just hasn't worked for them. And again, look at Walland. He was the player with the highest ball possession, but MSA just didn't have the tools to actually force that possession and convert it into goals. So deeply unfortunate for MSA there. And I mean, what do you do? I don't think Neon Knights are going to give them the Vulture in this game. So you can't just stick Mizo on the Vulture and let him try and hunt people down. It's unlikely that you can pick up both the Rampage and the Clunker. And even if you do, then you're just letting Neon Knights get their double support comp that they like so much. It's tough. I don't see a good way for MSA to approach this next draft. And Neon Knights, having played 2 games on 2 very different comps and looking great on both, are looking fantastic to take down game number 3, in my opinion.
And this, I think, begs some questions for the third draft. Because, I mean, we've seen Neon Knights they did, I think, look a little bit better on that double support comp where they kind of, like I said, it's so easy for them to group up around the Metal Herald and whoever else that's paired with, and just kind of blow people aside with the Peacemaker as well. But this game, so that's something to keep an eye on. First of all, which supports are available, because with that second pick now, Neon Knights, maybe they have the opportunity to snap a couple of them up for themselves. Also, this Peacemaker pick, it is causing so many problems. I mean, I say the Peacemaker, but the Killer J as well. Like, it's just, I'm not sure that MSA have the answers really for any of this. Just the annoyance, the nuisance that both of these picks are causing.
Yeah, you kind of look at it and you're like, all right, all MSA have to do to actually win in this third draft is they just have to get rid of the Peacemaker, they have to get rid of the Killer J, they do have to get rid of the Artificer as well. I mean, you can't really give over Photon and Metal Herald as a combo. It's, there's just too many options here for Neon Knights. I mean, if you're MSA, the maybe if you get your hands on Vulture, but again, I just don't think Neon Knights, that ban has worked for them in the last 2 games. Like, why would you change that now?
Yeah.
If I am MSA, I probably do look at just taking this Peacemaker off the board. You hope that the double support comp can't function as effectively without it. It has been an absolute staple for Neon Knights in both of these games. Highest damage, providing a huge amount of disruption, and when they get to the line, actually just laying down the red carpet and forcing the ball in that way. So I think you take away the Peacemaker, maybe you try and first pick the Artificer if that's not the ban out of Neon Knights. They get the Photon on the Metal Herald, but you just have to hope, I think, at that point that without the Peacemaker, it's not as effective.
I mean, it does also give them, I mean, once again, because they've taken out the Clunker in both the games so far. So if they did swap that over to maybe something like a Peacemaker, they could just opt for a first pick Clunker and try one of that as one of their interceptors. It might give them just a level of control that we haven't really seen them opt for in some of these drafts so far. I really would like them to switch it up, because I just think that going into the kind of the disruption that Neon Knights seem to rely on a lot, just kind of they need to knock them off that a little bit and try and force them into more of these brutal fights, more where your big interceptor players can make plays. I think MSA do need to adapt, because, like I said, they are 2-0 down. They have to take every game beyond this point. Neon Knights just 1 away from coming into this, and it would be a fantastic story, because MSA, like you said, just or overwhelmingly the favorites. This team were looking so good in the open play stage, and Neon Knights, just with the variety of comps, they were played in the open place, kind of maybe just practicing, building up their power for this final, and it has really shown here so far in this best of 5.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is the time, as you say, for MSA as well, to prove that you are champion material, because this is the time to prove that you are a team that has the ability to make comebacks, that has the mental strength to lose a couple of games and say, you know what, doesn't matter, we're going to win anyway through this. And it's such a hard thing to do. And that's what separates really good teams from great teams. I mean, I'm not going to say that everyone can, go undefeated in qualifiers, but going undefeated in qualifiers doesn't mean anything if you can't bounce back and win games at key, difficult moments when you're under pressure. And Neon Knights so far, these are, as we've said before, this is a new team, this is a team made up of players who've been around for a long time. This team has been around for a long time. And maybe that experience in kind of these high pressure playoff situations, just maybe that's what's coming in clutch for them so far.
Yeah, back against the wall here for MSA, and we'll see if they can fight their way out of this corner against Neon Knights side, who show very little signs of slowing down in this series. I'm really excited. I think this final has been the clash of styles that we would have expected coming into this one, and for the most part, it's been the team play oriented style that has been winning out on the day, more than so than the individualism that we would have expected from MSA, as just the good teamwork and the cool, calm, controlled approach from Neon Knights performing well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been so much fun to watch as well. I think it's great seeing Neon Knights show us what is possible when you actually achieve a high level of teamwork, when you've been playing together for a long time. Just the coordination on when they're using these key abilities, when they do use them, we see sometimes MSA have done something that teams in the semifinals didn't. The semifinals didn't manage to do against Neon Knights, which is force them to use these key abilities before they actually get to the finish line. They're being forced sometimes to use these abilities in the middle of the map, or on those kind of first set of hairpins, just to force their way through. But as soon as Neon Knights do that, as soon as those key abilities are down, they make sure that whenever they use them, they get value out of them. They get 1 or 2 kills, and as soon as they do that, it's just an all-out race to the finish line. They don't waste the opportunity that they're given. We describe them as a patient team, but they're a team that also knows when to press the advantage. You know, they're not patient to a fault where they'll sit back even when they have that advantage. So Neon Knights just always on the same page, and just so well played by them so far in this series.
And I would like to have a look at some of Boot Rider's play in this series, because obviously 2 games of Artificer, and we make the jokes about, you know, Artificer #1 transporter, but compared to something like the Black Lotus that we've seen, Black Lotus, you do have a lot of those defensive tools to kind of give yourself that space and make yourself difficult to hit. Artificer, you have those knockbacks, but aside from that, obviously you kind of you're the one who needs to be making those dodges. You're the one who has to kind of be just like keeping yourself safe. But there's been times where it looks as if they're just collapsing onto Boot Rider. They're able to actually force them out, and suddenly he just finds that one little bit of space and actually gets them the ground, especially when it comes to that big dropper stretch. And so I've actually been very impressed with how he's been transporting in a lot of these games. And once again, I think that's one reason why the Artificer pick has actually been so successful, because when you are able to keep up the Thunderdome for that goal line finish as well, it's pretty guaranteed for the Artificer.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And an interesting first ban. It's going to be the Killer J deciding that
was
more of a problem. Yeah, it is, but I mean, it still leaves the Peacemaker there. So MSA, maybe they're going to decide to first pick the Peacemaker, but if you do that, then you're going to give it up. I assume we're going to see the Vulture ban coming out in Neon Knights here. I'd be surprised if they change it up. It will, of course, be that Vulture ban again here. It's been working for them, you know. I mean, you don't give MS Assembly a chance to show why they've been so strong on this pick throughout the champion. So big first pick for MS Assembly. They have the chance to pick up the Artificer themselves for the first time, maybe deciding that was the other key problem. But if you do that, Neon Knights can easily just go back to the Peacemaker Photon combo that's been almost as effective for them as this Artificer Peacemaker combo in this tournament. So it'll be the Peacemaker for MS Assembly. It's going to be probably Photon and Metal Herald.
It could also be the Artificer and Metal Herald as well. I mean, that's a nice double support combo if they want to stick with that.
Although if you do that, you are absolutely just leaving open the Clunker and the Rampage for MS Assembly to pick up. And I think that's also potentially very, very dangerous to do. Giving them that triple interceptor, that's what they love. They shine on that kind of style. And so we'll see Neon Knights pick up here.
Yeah, and even then, you would still likely have to, and they are going to take away the Clunker. I mean, like I said, it's a bit of pick that's been banned away from them. It does also offer them that control that they would like now that the Killer J and Peacemaker aren't available. So they grab that for themselves. And MSA have a few options. They could potentially just grab the Photon and Metal Herald for themselves here and try completely steal the Neon Knight style comp away from them.
Yeah, but we saw, you know, ZXC tried to do something in the similar in the semi-finals. And it didn't necessarily work out particularly well for them. They just didn't look as practiced on that double support style. They will pick up the Photon, and now the decision is, do they go for the Rampage and try and secure that triple interceptor comp, or will they pick up the Metal Herald and try and deny the double support comp away from Neon Knights? And that is a tough decision. I don't even know if there's a right answer to that one.
Yeah, just waiting on this pick to come through. They will opt for that double support. This means that the Rampage is available for Neon Knights. And I mean, if you tell a team that in game 3 of the final, when you're 2-0 up, you can get Artificer, Clunker, Rampage, probably going to be fairly happy with that. They will grab it for themselves. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. We'll see what they choose to round their comp out with. MSA, though, with this next pick, they're just looking to add that second interceptor in on the big damage source as well in that Wildfire.
Yeah, the Wildfire, as we say, that champion that has rounded out comps most often throughout this tournament. Maybe the Stingray up for Neon Knights on the other side has been a pick that has kind of been that slightly lower tier of interceptor that Pete teams use to round out comps. It will be the Stingray in the end to round that one out. So Neon Knights, you know, as you say, you'd have to be absolutely delighted with this comp if you are them. And it's MS Assembly. They need to show us that they can be as good on this double support comp when you have the Peacemaker as well, as Neon Knights have been throughout these playoff series, and play around that Peacemaker as well. I mean, that's really the tough one. Neon Knights so good at playing around that Peacemaker, and MS Assembly need to show us that they're comfortable on this pick, that it isn't just a denial from Neon Knights, but actually something that they can use to force a win.
And I mean, if you talk about Neon Knights' ability to score goals in this series so far, they've just added a Clunker. So, I mean, that helps a lot. You just drag them all over the line with the singularity. So, MSA going to have to be so careful about letting Neon Knights get any ground in the arena. They have to. I think they do have the Peacemaker now to ensure that their starts are a bit more consistent. Obviously, they did well with the Black Lotus in the previous game in that regard, but on top of that, they need to convert and they need to find ways to just deny Neon Knights from ever really getting into position to score. Because I mean, Artificer Clunker, two fantastic ways to get the ball over the line.
Yeah, I mean, if Neon Knights get onto that home straight, I think, like, basically you can just call it at that point. The ball's going to end up in the back of the net somehow. It doesn't matter if it's Artificer pushing everyone out of the way with the Thunderdome. Doesn't matter if Clunker is just dragging 4 people into the goal with the Singularity. The ball's probably going to end up in the goal. So, as you say, all of the tools there for Neon Knights, and really no pressure on them in this game either. You know, not only do they have the tools, they're also 2 games up. They have 3 match points now to try and close this one out. And MSA, as we said, this is the game where they need to show that they are champion material, that they do have the mental strength to come back and close this one out, and that they do have the flexibility to play these comps to their full potential.
Yeah, this is quite a far cry from the maybe more interceptor-based comp that they would be fond of, but it is a necessity. Coming against a team like Neon Knights, you need to deny them those supports. And in this case now, back with the Photon and Metal Herald for another game, also taking the Peacemaker away for themselves. We loaded to game 3. Neon Knights 1 game away from completing the upset and taking out the number 1 seed with a 3-0. And MSA, tournament lives on the line here. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah, well, trying to dodge around on this Photon obviously did very well as the ball carrier on that Black Lotus in the last game, but just didn't have the tools supporting him to actually get that ball across the line. So this time around with the Peacemaker and with the Metal Herald and the Wildfire, there's a little bit more to actually get the ball across the line. So MSA will look to try and capitalize early here and try and actually get themselves into a lead, maybe feel a little bit more comfortable. It looks like Walden's going to be dispossessed, and now Neon
Photon
have the chance to show us.
Yeah, Photon not with the defensive tools to make that work there, and Bootrider able to secure the kill, get the bomb for themselves in this scenario here. And we see now Neon Knights just clearing out these members of MSA. Only Scratch left alive. Walland actually with the respawn here, but Bootrider already past the halfway point, and Neon Knights just looking so comfortable back on this Artificer with the 3 interceptors.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we do need to come up with a proper name for this comp at some point, because it is such a staple, you know.
Articeptor.
I don't have any ideas. Articeptor, yeah. I like it. The Articeptor comp. So yeah, this Articeptor comp, you know, it's been such a staple in this tournament, and Neon now, they do have the chance to show us why it has been so highly valued. Bootrider is very low, so they will need to take time. There was a good handoff of the ball.
Yeah, smooth transition there to Genos to hold on to that one for the time being. He goes low as well. They're going to want to get this back to Bootrider. However, the Artificer is still low here. Wallen looking to finish off the kill. Another pause.
We're being denied the action here.
Tension.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Yeah, the same issue that we had previously. So hopefully we can get that resolved quickly. But it's been a close start here. Neon Knights looking good, but MSA attempting to make a strong defense. And I mean, when we go back into it, that's a low health Artificer.
Yeah, it is a very low health Artificer. The hand back to the Artificer, not as clean as the first hand off to Genos. Well, you know, I mean, this is it as well. MSA now have the chance to just scrap it out with this double sport comp. It is the comp that shines the most in these kind of like really scrappy back and forth fights, because you can just heal up so much of that damage in those fights. The triple interceptor comp does have the potential to just damage its way through it as we jump back in. Ball is, of course, immediately turned back over to MSA.
Yeah, we missed it, but Bootrider was taken out, and Scratch able to get the bomb. They're actually going to give it over to the Photon, who probably is the best transporter in this composition. And MSA looking to regain the ground they had at the start of this game 3.
I'll have to wait a little bit longer to actually manage to do it, though. As the pause comes through one more time. No, we're straight back into game. No time for a transition.
All right. Yeah, it's just to mix things up a little bit. But Genos looking for the play there, trying to get the dispossessed, and it actually will go back to Bootrider. They're able to drop Walland as well here. Agada, though, caught out a little bit in opposing territory there, and actually you can see Bootrider's going to try to see how long he can evade the oncoming members of MSA to wait for the respawns for his team to help him out. The Artificer able to get the self-repair back online. The drops are coming through for Neon Knights, but they're going to have to stop this pressure coming out of MSA. Thunderdome actually being used there, but 2 key picks onto Mizo and Serchik means that now Neon Knights once again re-establishing control of this game and can advance their position.
Yeah, and I mean, we see it again. You know, the Thunderdome is forced out from Boop Rider, but as soon as they do it, they manage to get picks onto the 2 key damage sources of MSA. And so, you know, even when these abilities are forced out before Neon would like them to be forced out, they're good at forcing it forward, but MSA striking back.
Yeah, snipe from Mizo coming through there, takes out the Artificer, and MSA looking to see if they can finish off this ace here, chasing down Ingaman. Stingray will just about find the space that he needs, but he is so far away from the action here, so MSA basically able to push this for free. Respawn's now coming through at the top of this corner from Neon Knights. They're still without their Stingray, who's catching up, fully repaired here. Red Carpet being used, though, by Mizo to clear up some space here, and Wallen just finding a small gap through. Stingray ultimate coming down, but not connecting on the side here, and MSA, it's scrappy, but they're making it work for now. Wallen has been given the space here, just sitting in the middle of that Wildfire ultimate will give them a little bit more time. They have the couple of kills that they need, and now they're able to press it through that perilous stretch of droppers here and close in on the goal line.
Yeah, you called it Scrappy, but Scrappy is the name of the game when you're playing this double support comp. That's exactly what you want. And the Peacemaker from Mizo, you know, he's showing good mastery over this champion as well, doing a lot of damage and really disrupting this Neon side. As now, MSA will look to make a push in and score the first goal of this game.
Yeah, Wallen, he is not stepping forward at all, does not want to go up against this Clunker and the Rampage with all the droppers around him on a Photon. He's waiting for his team to do the work, but actually... Janos able to find him, trying to pull him back to the dropper. The bomb is dropped, but not in a position where Neon Knights can get it. Mizo was able to pick it up, and Janos actually died for that. So does Agada. That's 2 key kills coming through here. It is just the Artificer and the Stingray on the line, and Serchik looking to dispossess them. Thunderdome is used, and immediately Wallen steps back. Does not want to have to deal with that. They give the bomb back to this Photon here as MSA just trying to find him. The goal does come through. MSA strike first in game 3.
Yeah, MSA looking good on this comp. You know, they baited out Boop Rider, they baited out his Thunderdome. Didn't really get much value. He was expecting the push to come all the way forward from Wallen there. And once that was down, it was so easy for MSA to just force all the way through. Mizo and this Peacemaker just causing so much disruption on the goal line. And MSA now looking much more comfortable on this double support comp. And this Articeptor comp not actually looking as strong for the side of Neon.
Yeah, just not able to duke it out on the goal line with MSA able to consistently grind out those kills and keep members of Neon Knights out of the arena. Early pick onto this Peacemaker means that there is a chance for Neon Knights to make ground, although they need to find a way to get the bomb over to the Artificer, who is currently sustaining at the moment as MSA looking to keep the pressure on and keep Genos uncomfortable with possession of the bomb as this Clunker here. He's nearly been taken down here. He will be dropped. The bomb fight actually will grant the bomb over to Scratch, and MSA just pressuring out the Transporter, who did not want the bomb whatsoever, and being rewarded with the turnover.
Yeah, now I get on this Clunker. You know, he had huge impact on Peacemaker in these first 2 games, but he's struggling a little bit to find the same impact on Rampage, and it's giving MSA plenty of space to push this ball forward, as now Wallen has found himself in some clear road and will look to get deep into the Neon half.
This is the Peacemaker lane, you could say, where he just pops down the big missiles, pops down the red carpet, and it's tough for the opposing team to defend that area. Right now, just grouped up around Wallen, and we've actually been seeing them. The Hellfire is actually being used. Serchik tries to pick off a kill, not able to find it for himself here. Genos sneaking through to grab the Photon, but once again, MSA just handing that over to the other support instead. Red Carpet is used and actually trapping Boop Rider and Ingaman there into unfortunate positions. But this possession comes through, but Scratch straight back onto it. He's taken out, and Boop Rider in the perfect position to swoop onto the bomb. Neon Knights back with possession.
Yeah, Neon Knights members all so low though, but the Artificer healing coming through has kept them topped up enough, and they've managed to somehow out-heal and out-damage the MSA double support comp in that little fight, and now killing off more MSA members. This is a chance for Neon Knights to really get forward and finally make their mark in this game number 3.
Yeah, that's 3 kills for them there. The Wildfire will be respawning in just a second, but Neon Knights well away from their goal and have an opportunity to press further here. Trying to see if they can pick off Scratch's Metal Herald, looking for the damage. But Boop Rider a little bit isolated as the respawns are actually coming through, and will need to maybe step back a little bit Saturday Shift is used, but not to great effect, not finding a kill for themselves, as now they're looking to clear out members. They do find the Metal Herald. Ingeman looking for the ultimate as well, but the Peacemaker can't sustain through that for the moment. And Neon Knights just waiting for the heals before they look to make a play. Mizo has been pressured well away from this, so he can't disrupt them. Ingeman giving over his life for that one here. Neon Knights, though, they have pressed past that stretch droppers, but maybe they need to just step back a little bit and wait before they make the push towards the goal.
Yeah, I believe I was going to say the Artificer ult should be available, but it's forced out of Boot Rider there, so going to be a little bit tougher to score this goal as the red carpet comes down as well. This is getting scrappy on this last turn.
Yeah, this is a huge fight coming down here. Wallen and Searchik, though, the first 2 casualties, so that's great news for Neon Knights there. Looking to see if they can finish off Scratch, but Boot Rider has just slipped past them all, sends that over the line and equalizes this game 3.
Neon Knights looking to close it out in game number 3. They don't want to hand this one back over. They want the clean 3-0. And Boot Rider just playing really well. And it's once again, you know, I've said it time and again this series, they prefer to save that Artificer ult for the line, but as soon as they use it, they recognize that they have to go in. They can't afford to not get value from the Thunderdome. And so once that Thunderdome went down, they went for the push and did it to great effect. I'm just so impressed by Boot Rider's Artificer and how well the rest of his team can play around it as well.
Yeah, he is not messing around at all with that Artificer ultimate. As soon as the Wildfire went in with the Hellfire, just instantly hit the button on it, and the rest of the team looking for the fight as well, and they were quickly able to convert 2 kills, which practically set them up for that equalizing score here. Once again, MSA off with a good start here. Genos actually does manage to find the dispossession here. Neon Knights trying to get to it, but it falls.
You know, it's disrupting our flow a little bit here. Right as we're getting right into the thick of things, it's been maybe a little bit frustrating, but definitely probably, I'd imagine, more frustrating for the players, you know, as you're trying to play through this one. I think Walland has once again, unfortunately, disconnected here. So hopefully get back in again. We've had some quite quick pauses here. But, you know, Neon Knights, they're playing well. And the teamwork, once again, just coming out really strong for them. MSA just not playing as effectively around this Peacemaker and the double support combo as Neon Knights have been able to every time we've seen them pick that up.
Yeah, I think we've pointed out that both these teams may be looking a little bit more uncomfortable on the compositions that they've drafted this game. But in any case, it's actually Searchik who's able to walk away with the bomb there, although he immediately goes down, and they get that over to Genos. Likely going to try hand this off to the Artificer if they get the opportunity. Walland in hot pursuit. And Genos going to have to hold on to this for a little bit longer than maybe he bargained for. Might try sneak a pick onto Mizo as well when he has the chance here. And now, a bit slow getting this to the Artificer, but eventually Boot Rider will find the bomb in his hands. And they have it on who they want. 2 nice picks as well onto Searchik and Wallen. And Neon Knights looking good at the start of this 3rd round.
Yeah, Ingeman's a lot better at landing that Stingray ult than I am, as I think you can attest to. But it is, you know, it's such an important ability, and if you can land it, it basically does guarantee either a kill or taking someone out of the play, and it's off the back of that pressure the Neon Knights are now pushing all the way forward. Artificer ult probably available here.
Yeah, Singularity used to pull them away, and Boot Rider once again with a lot of space. Wallen trying to get in his way here, Searching as well, but Boot Rider going to maybe looking for the shot. Has to keep his finger off the trigger though as MSA scramble back to the line. And Neon Knights reconsidering there. Good patience for Boot Rider not to fire that into the mass of machines on the goal line.
Yeah, really good patience from all of Neon, recognizing that MSA had managed to get 4 members back and that there wasn't the health bars on the side of Neon to actually just contest an all-out brawl on that line. A little bit impatient there, though, from Genos, and he is going to get taken out, so Neon will have to wait.
Genos picked off, and maybe MSA thinking of making a play. Mizo just deploying the red carpet. That'll just keep Neon Knights away if they weren't already trying to stay back here. Looking to see if he can pick off some of the members of Neon Knights who are trying to snipe some damage on the side here. Genos has respawned. Now looking to pull a few key members away. Takes the Peacemaker out of the fight here. Maybe actually with the isolated Mizo, they could try collapse on him and get the damage. But Mizo just safely retreating, looking to snipe members out of the way. And MSA just patient in the defense. Scratch the next victim of this fight. But even so, MSA holding strong. Hellfire actually used a search just to go in for the damage, but not finding a kill with it here. Boot Rider now does have the ultimate available, using the Thunderdome, and just walks it over the line. The patience paying off there, and Neon Knights 1 goal away from the crown.
Yeah, they're on game point, they're on series point, they're on tournament point here. Neon Knights looking so strong, so much patience. I mean, they just camped out in that home straight for 20, 30 seconds there, waiting for the Thunderdome to become available. And as soon as it was, Neon Knights just forced their way through and nothing MSA can do about it. Neon Knights, I mean, it just looks so powerful. MSA need to find an answer right now or their tournament is over.
Neon,
Maybe that answer is, the pod.
Yeah. Genos has the bomb. We saw that. So Neon Knights have managed to get this one off of the start. We can see this ping issue affecting. I think that's correct saying we have the icon over the thing. But yeah, I mean, this is the most methodical I think I have ever seen Heavy Metal Machines played. Neon Knights they step forward, they make sure, and they're playing around these special weapons, and it's working so well for them because, especially with this composition, the ones they have are very powerful. You have Thunderdome, you've got Singularity, you can make some big plays, and also just set up these fights really well, set up these pushes really well, and it's just expert usage coming out of Neon Knights, and it's working for them time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, MSA kind of gambled a little bit in the draft that it was just the Peacemaker that was the problem. But the problem is that by gambling that, by taking the Peacemaker away, they did still give over the Artificer and the Clunker. And the problem is that Artificer is one of the big ultimates that we know that Neon Knights could play around before this game. And it looks like they're able to play around this Clunker ultimate just as effectively. They're using both of these special weapons so well to get themselves to the finish line. And as we head back into game here, Neon Knights with the ball, this could be the final play of this entire tournament.
Yeah, we'll likely see a big fight coming through, and a lot of damage actually onto the Neon Knights here. Boop Rider trying to get the heals in for his team to avoid them from going down. A lot of damage onto Scratch as well here as they try to focus out this Metal Herald. And this is a big early fight, but two key picks onto the interceptors of Neon Knights here. And Boop Rider going to have to try play Runaway for a while here as MSA bear down on them. And MSA showing that they're definitely not going down without a fight.
No, definitely not. And I mean, this is what we kind of said. This is what we expected before this series started, is MSA happy to take these early brawls once the ball is picked up and, trying to win out just through superior individual play. Mizo doing a good job of just heading down himself and trying to find those kills. And Neon still in control of the ball here is really dangerous for MSA.
Yeah, Genos quick on the ball there to pick up the bomb in response. And Neon Knights, they've been suffering. They've been hunted down by MSA at the start of this round, but doing a good job of just keeping hold of the bomb and keeping themselves away from MSA. Once again, Boop Rider giving control of it again. Very isolated here, though. Needs to find a way out, and actually Singularity used to give him some space. So that's the Clunker Ultimate being used up there, but the respawns have come through from Neon Knights, and finally they can just maybe settle things down a little bit and start trying to advance their position.
Yeah, the communication good there from Neon Knights. Even though the Singularity took two members out, I think the communication was, look, I've taken two people out, but I'm getting very low. Don't push forward yet because we're going to be 3v4 if that happens. So Neon Knights, even though they started to try and push forward there, happy to play it slow and still not advancing into the MSA half.
They're forced to use the Thunderdome there as well, and MSA are really keeping the heat turned on, and yeah, the flow, man, the flow. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like MSA, despite not getting the bomb, that was really strong, consistent pressure being applied. Yeah. But it looks as if just finally being forced to use those crucial special weapons that Neon Knights have finally found the ground that they need. They have a fully healed Artificer and the rest of their team as well, doing well in terms of help. So they seem to have finally just found the ground for themselves. MSA doing their best, but Neon Knights just so tricky to take down and actually dispossess.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we've said it to death about Neon Knights, but they're just so good at using these key abilities. And it's coming out even in this open kind of scrappy play in the middle. Neon Knights, they've just been playing it so slowly, and it's been working for them. Even though, as you said, MSA have been getting these key kills down. Just the ability of Neon Knights to always have someone near the bomb carrier right before they get dropped. And actually pick that bomb up, make sure that MSA never have a chance to swoop in and take it away and mount their own period of pressure has been so effective. As we see the pause coming through here now, Boop Rider will look to push into the half.
Oh, nice dodge out of the Hellfire there from Boop Rider to avoid that big chunk of damage coming through. And Neon Knights now, once again, being as evasive as they can and trying to deal with the onslaught from MSA as they just throw themselves at this Artificer, trying to take Boop Rider down. Red Carpet being deployed, and look how far they just pushed Boot Rider back. He's been forced to drive all the way back there with MSA pushing there, but he's kept himself alive. They haven't actually found the pick off of this attempted damage, and now maybe some space here for Neon Knights.
This could be it. This could be the final push for Neon Knights. I think the Artificer ult should be back up relatively soon. If not that, at least the Clunker, a special weapon, and this could be the final push for Neon Knights.
Yeah, Scratch and Mizo need to make something happen here, but they're just being kept away from the line completely. Boot Rider trying to drive past them. They keep them on the line, but the Singularity is being used, and he fires it into the goal, and it is Neon Knights finishing the series of 3-0. They will be your Medal League 8 European champions.
And GG well played come out in the chat. Neon Knights played so well in this final series. You know, they were the underdogs coming in, but they didn't look like the underdogs by the time this series finished. They looked like absolutely fantastic Heavy Metal Machines players, and a well-earned title for Neon Knights. First time since Season 1.
Yeah, I mean, a victory for team play there, I think, given just how all the time they were so good. I think, like I said, the communication that you must need to use all of those special weapons effectively, the communication necessary throughout the competition to just play that slow style and make sure that you're all grouped up and ready to absorb any kind of pressure coming your way. Neon Knights just constantly putting on a masterclass as to kind of a control style in this game, and it was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Boot Rider on this Artificer, you got to play it all 3 games in this series. And I mean, part of that is just the strength of this Neon Knight squad on so many different styles. There was nothing MSA could do. They couldn't take away enough champions to deny Neon Knights the kind of style, the kind of Heavy Metal Machines that they wanted to play. And Boot Rider on this Artificer looked like an absolute machine. As soon as he got onto that final stretch of road, it always felt like somehow the ball was going to end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, even just thinking back to the start of the passage, at the start of that third round, where they got the bomb, but then they just lost those few crucial picks. And first of all, Boot Rider spent ages just dodging people. Then he went down, and it was Genos trying to avoid all the damage coming through. And he managed to do it. They got it back to Boot Rider, and finally, they managed to find the space to make that final push happen. Looking at these stats as well, and we see the Stingray damage coming through there. Ingerman as well, just playing a crucial role in this series, brought in to have a big impact on that Stingray.
Yeah, it's been Agada the entire time on that Peacemaker who's been getting these highest damage and stuff. But I mean, credit to Ingerman, you know, he had a great game there. We called out how in the second goal, you know, it was a nice Stingray ult to finish off a kill that did give Boot Rider the space to get that ball all the way to the finish line. And I mean, just all around, Neon Knights, I think, individual play, absolutely fantastic. But it was the teamwork that really brought them out on top over MSA in this grand finals. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, absolutely well-deserving champions here. They had an absolutely stellar series, and they've had an absolutely stellar tournament.
All right, so that is it for Medal League 8. Congratulations to Neon Knights, the 3rd seed coming out of the open play and pulling off the upset in emphatic fashion in the final. Commiserations to MS Assembly, who fought their hardest, but it just wasn't enough on the day. So it will be Neon Knights who walk away with the victory, with the prize money, and with their totem in the Metal God Arena. From myself and Nua Lake, that will be it. Thank you guys for watching across the weekend. It was a fantastic weekend of Heavy Metal Machines action, and make sure you guys are back for Season 9 of Metal League EU. See you then.